A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. An elderly man is found dead in the living room of his home. There's a single bullet hole in his chest. On the surface, it appears the man took his own life, but the evidence points to the opposite. Your job? Investigate.
More and more smokers coast to coast are saying this about king-size Fatima every day.
They're different. Better.
They are different. So pleasing.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, January 10th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 8:25 a.m. when I got to the police academy, the doctor's office. Morning.
Morning. Can I help you?
I'm checking in for my annual physical.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see here. Name?
Joe Friday.
Let's see. Friday, just like a day in the week?
Yeah, that's right.
Friday. Can't seem to find it. You sure you were notified?
Yeah, the teletype was posted in the office a couple of days ago. Annual physical exams. My name was right near the top of the list. Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here you are. Joseph Friday.
That's it, yeah.
Well, all right, Friday. Let's get your name down here.
Okay.
Age?
34.
Where you work?
Central Homicide.
Serial number?
2288.
2288. Okay, Friday, you want to step this way?
All right.
Slip off your shoes, your coat, and shirt.
Okay. Well, they keeping you busy?
Oh, pretty busy, yeah. 4,500 men in the department. Everyone has to have an annual physical. Better get you weighed and send you along inside. Doc's probably ready for you by now.
Okay.
Over here. Oh, never fails. Dr. Vance's office. Who's that? Just a minute. It's for you, Friday, your office.
Oh, thank you. Friday talking.
This is Ben, Joe. You about through over there?
No, not quite. I haven't seen Doc Vance yet. What's the matter?
Dead body called up by Westlake Park. Radio car's out there now.
No one else in homicide to handle it?
Not right now. They're pretty busy. Now, you should coming back to the office. Why don't you meet me out there? It's 932 Old Laurel Lane.
Just a minute. Have that pad, Doc. Thank you. 9320 Laurel. I got it. What's the story?
Old man was found dead in his living room, bullet hole in his chest. Men in the radio car said at first it looked like the old man had killed himself. They're not so sure now.
What do you mean?
They think he had some help.
847 8:45 a.m. I left the doctor's office at the police academy and drove to the Westlake area where I met Ben in front of the cottage where the dead body had been found. We went inside and checked with one of the men from the radio car who was standing by. The dead man was identified as Martin Latimer, age 68, a retired owner of a couple of neighborhood grocery stores in the city. He was lying sprawled on his side on the floor. There was a bullet hole in his chest just above the heart where the slug had entered the body. There was another, larger wound in the back through the left shoulder blade where the bullet had emerged. Approximately 8 feet across the room from the body was another chair. There was a Winchester rifle wired firmly to the top, its muzzle pointing directly above the spot where the body lay on the floor. A thick white string was found wound firmly around the trigger of the rifle. It ran through a metal ring on the stock of the gun and stretched across the room where it had been tied to the dead man's right index finger. At first glance, it seemed like an obvious suicide arrangement. Officer Harkness, one of the men in the radio car who had answered the call, took exception.
I know, Sergeant. Maybe I'm all wet. Just doesn't gel right for me. Who discovered the body, Harkness? Next-door neighbor, Mrs. Donworth. My partner's with her now. You fellas call the crime lab?
Yeah, they're on their way out. Was the old man the only one who lived in the house here?
Yeah, that's what the neighbor told us. Sure like to see what the crime lab crew's going to think of it.
Well, what's the big question, Harkness?
Well, I know it's none of my business, Sergeant. You fellas are the detectives. I just couldn't help but notice, though. What's that? Well, here. Now, over here, this rifle wired to the back of the chair.
Yeah.
Now, take a sight along the barrel of the rifle. See what you think.
Right through the sight, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Pointed right above the armchair over there, isn't it? It's in a straight line with the body. Well, how much fish? The old man pulled the string tied to his index finger and it set off the trigger. Took the slug through the chest, right?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Now, here, take a look at the wall directly behind the old man.
Yeah?
The slug went clean through the body, we know that. Through the chest above the heart, then out through the shoulder blade.
I see what you mean.
Oh, here, now, take a look at this wall here. Got a mark on it.
Yeah. One thing, sure, if the old man was shot in that position, the slug had to come this way.
Well?
Pass through his body right about this height here.
Uh-huh.
We ought to find the bullet hole in this wall. Right around here.
Yeah, it ought to be. Not a trace of the slug there. Not much chance it could have been deflected, do you think?
Well, that's what I thought. It's a 30-30 Winchester, enough power to go through a couple of plaster walls.
Well, we know the slug went through the body. It's got to be somewhere in one of these four walls.
Take a look over here and see what you think.
All right.
Down here near the corner of the wall.
Where?
Well, right here.
Yeah, looks like it. Ben?
Something's out of kilter. The rifle never could have thrown the slug this far down on the wall. Not the way it's wired to the chair there.
And besides that, it's way out of line. At least 4 feet, the way I figured here.
Well, I know it's none of my business, Sergeant. I couldn't help but notice it, though. You want me to stand by outside?
Yeah, okay, if you will. Would you mind checking with your partner? See if we can have that neighbor lady brought over for questioning, would you?
Right, I'll check with him now.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to take another look at that rifle.
Well, it sure doesn't add up too well, does it? Even if the old man jerked the gun when he pulled the trigger with that string arrangement, the slug couldn't have passed through his chest, out his back, and then hit the wall where it did.
Well, stand just behind the body, will you, Joe? See if it's possible to line it up.
All right, what about here? Look about it to you?
Yeah. That's good. Let me see here. No, not a chance, Joe. It's way out of line.
Uh-huh.
That's the gun that killed him. The old man didn't pull the trigger. Not from there, anyway.
Well, there's one other chance.
Yeah?
Somebody pulled it for him. Lieutenant Lee Jones arrived with his crime lab crew and went to work. We put in a call to the coroner's office, and then the dead man's neighbor, Mrs. Elsie Donworth, was brought over for questioning. She was a chubby, matronly lady, about 45. She told us she'd been a neighbor to the aging Martin Latimer for more than 10 years.
I take it you knew Mr. Latimer pretty well, ma'am.
Yeah, I suppose. Didn't have any relatives, poor man. All alone. He was in the grocery business for years. He made some nice money, I guess. Retired about 8 years ago, sold both his stores. Had an income from a mortgage on one of them. $150 a month. Yeah, he was very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a penny pincher at all, but he was thrifty. It was the same way with my husband, Claude. He used to say, take care of the dimes and the dollars will take care of themselves.
Well, Mrs. Donworth, can you think of any reason why Latimer would want to take his own life?
Oh, I suppose. The poor old man is getting along in years. For a long time there, he was afraid he was going to die with cancer.
Is that so? Did Mr. Latimer have cancer, do you know?
Oh, no. He kept thinking he was going to die with it. Could you come next door to my place while I get some of my laundry out. We could talk there. It's just across the yard.
All right, ma'am. That'll be fine. Hey, do you want to tell Lee Jones we'll be next door, Ben? Guess you better let Harkness know, too.
Yeah, right. I'll tell him.
Thank you.
About that cancer business, officer, Mr. Latimer was always talking about it.
Yes, ma'am.
He finally went to a doctor about it. That was last week only. He came back and he told me the doctor said for him not to be so silly about it. He was a well man in good health.
When was the last time that you saw Latimer, ma'am?
Day before yesterday. Oh, we laughed and joked over the back fence. Poor old man. He had such a nice smile. Reminded me a good deal of Claude. That was my husband.
Well, I'd like to have your honest opinion, Miss Donworth. Do you think Mr. Latimer killed himself?
Well, I suppose that rifle in there, that terrible contraption.
Joe, I wonder if I could talk to you a minute.
Yeah, okay. Would you like to go on ahead over next door, ma'am? We'll be right with you.
All right, officer.
Thank you very much. We'll be right there, ma'am. Yeah.
Crime lab crew's having a field day. They say if the old man shot himself with that rig, it ought to make Ripley's call him.
They find anything definite?
Dusted the rifle for fingerprints. Didn't find a warrant. How about that?
Yeah. It makes less sense than that slug buried in the corner of the wall, doesn't it?
Sure does. Checked the desk in the living room, found some correspondence Latimer was having with some woman through a Lonely Hearts Club.
Yeah? Did you find any reason why he'd want to die?
Pretty good reason why he'd want to live.
Huh?
Found a photograph. Beautiful girl. Must be about 24 or 5.
What about it?
She was going to marry him.
The crime lab crew continued their routine investigation of Martin Latimer's cottage. They removed a .30-30 slug from the corner of one wall. Ben and I went next door to question the neighbor, Mrs. Donworth. There didn't seem to be any common ground at all between the evidence in the house and the information that she had to offer. As we continued questioning her, Mrs. Donworth remembered that a month before, Latimer had told her that something might happen to him and he wanted to make out a will. He asked if she would witness the will. A few days later, Latimer's lawyer came to the house and Mrs. Donworth witnessed the signing. At that time, she said Latimer made the remark, "I don't feel like going on much longer anyway. If death means arrest, I think I deserve one." Mrs. Donworth kept busy with the laundry while we interviewed her.
Could you let me get by to the manual, officer? I have to get some of this ironing done.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
I'm afraid there's one thing I don't remember you telling us, ma'am. Did you hear anything out of the ordinary going on next door, or this morning or last night?
No, nothing I noticed anyway. Officer, did you see that knob on the washer, the one on the left?
Oh, you mean this over here?
Yeah, just lift it up and turn it around to off, please. It says off right there in the dial.
Yes, ma'am, I see. There you are.
Yeah, thanks. No, there was nothing I heard from next door to remark about. Of course, it's so noisy around here that time of morning you can't even hear yourself think anyway.
How's that, ma'am?
Trucks passing by up and down. Every morning. They're not small trucks either. They start in at 6 a.m. They rattle past for 2-3 hours, please.
First good explanation we've had on this thing.
Could you give us the names of some of the other people on the street who knew Mr. Latimer pretty well, Mrs. Donworth?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't think any of them knew the poor old man as well as I did. Most of them are younger folks, parties and things. When you get up around 65 or past it, like Mr. Latimer, parties don't mean so much anymore.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Yeah. Just a nice, quiet home with a good heating system. Good books on the shelf. Good man around the house. That all you can ask for?
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you very much. We'll leave our card here in case you want to contact us for any reason.
All right, officer.
Well, there's one more thing, Mrs. Donworth. We understand Latimer was corresponding with several women through a Lonely Hearts Club. Did he ever mention that to you?
No, he never did. I found out from the mailman. He's a regular gossip.
And Latimer never mentioned any of the women that he corresponded with, is that right?
Well, I pretended I didn't even know about it. He never brought it up. Don't understand why he'd want to meet a lady that way. All most of them are looking for is a man with money so they can quit work and lay around the house.
Well, thanks again, Mrs. Donworth. It's been very helpful.
Yeah. Poor old man. I wonder what made him write letters after silly women. Little good they'd have done him. He wrote letters all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Getting tired of working myself. Could have saved the postage, too.
Beg your pardon?
I was right next door. Would have married him in a minute.
We left Mrs. Donworth's house a few minutes past noon, and we went back next door to Latimer's cottage. The crime lab crew had finished their investigation, and the deputy coroner arrived. He took the body downtown for autopsy. We talked over the crime lab findings with Lieutenant Lee Jones, and he felt the same way that Ben and I did. The theory that Latimer had shot himself to death was possible in many respects, but it was far from plausible. We checked through Latimer's correspondence with the women that he'd contacted by mail through the Lonely Hearts Club. Especially the young girl he obviously intended to marry, judging from his letters to her. Her picture showed her to be a brunette, dark eyes, young, and very attractive. The inscription at the bottom read, "With love, Catherine." There was no return address on either the photo or the letter. Ben called to check with the Lonely Hearts Club.
Yes, ma'am. No, that's all right. We'll probably be dropping down to talk to you. Yes, boy.
What'd they say?
Might be it, Joe. Club secretary says they've been having trouble with somebody who signs a picture just like this one. With love, Catherine. I described the picture, and the secretary says it's the same girl.
What's the angle?
The girl doesn't belong to the club, but somehow she got a list of the members and their addresses. She writes to them, usually old men, gets them set for marriage, and they send for her. Her letters come from the east, from different cities. She writes and asks for train fare out here. The men send her the money for clothes and train fare, and that's the last of it. She's gone.
Oh, it adds up all right. There's one letter here. This one. I hate to ask you, dear, but if you could send me the traveling money and just a little extra for some clothes, I will take the first train and be with you in a week to become your wife, awaiting that precious moment and so on.
Kind of poured it on thick. What's the date on this?
Let's see. December 30th. It's 12 days ago.
What do you think?
That's possible. She could have showed up, tried to grab all the old man's money she could find. Maybe he caught her at it. She killed him, rigged up this phony setup to make it look like Latimer shot himself.
And to hold more water if we could find out she really came here. Maybe we better start ringing a few doorbells. The other neighbors might come up with something. What do you say?
Let me see that girl's picture again, will you?
Yeah, here you go. No photographer's name.
Now, look in the back here, Ben.
Here?
No, down here in the corner. Right in the corner of the picture mounting.
Oh, yeah. XXX6Y3. Must be some kind of manufacturer's marking. Photography supply. Guess it stands for the type of paper, huh? You know anything about the photo business?
No, I don't.
Neither do I.
Let's find somebody who does, huh? Before we drove back to the office, Ben and I covered the rest of the neighborhood and talked to everybody who knew the dead man, Martin Latimer, even remotely. They told us nothing that we didn't already know. There'd been no strangers seen visiting the old man. No one had noticed anything out of the ordinary in Latimer's daily routine. 3 o'clock that afternoon, we checked with the police photo lab. They told us that the symbols stamped on the cardboard frame of the photograph signed Catherine were symbols used by a photo supply company up in San Francisco. We went back to the office and got in touch with the San Francisco firm. We were told that the symbols indicated the style and the size of photographic mounting, and further, that this particular type of mounting was distributed only throughout 7 western states. They gave us a list of 18 photo studios in Los Angeles who kept that particular mount in stock. It was a long chance, but we started checking them out. Meantime, we'd run the girl through R&I and gotten out an APB, seeking information on her. 3 days later, Ben and I had checked out 10 of the 18 photo studios on our list. The 11th was the M&Y Family Portraits on Melrose.
Yes, sir. Help you? Police officers, would you mind taking a look at this photograph here, please? Let's see. Would you like an enlargement? Got a special price on enlargements this week?
No, sir. We'd just like to know if you can identify this girl, that's all.
Oh.
Well, do you recognize her at all, sir?
I know her. Sure you wouldn't like an enlargement?
You're in a cruiser car of a Metropolitan Police Department. You receive a routine radio call.
All units, attention all units. Pick up and hold for investigation the following vehicle. 1948 Ford, 2-door sedan, black white sidewall tires.
There are many cars that fit this description. You listen for more facts.
This car will have extensive damage to right front end. License number 9 Robert 9 707. In the 7 column, 9 Robert 9 707. KMA 367.
Now you can pin it down to one. It's the same with cigarettes. There are many king-size brands to choose from. But when you know all the facts, you'll make your choice Fatima.
Here are those facts. Fatimas are the same in length and circumference as any other king-size cigarette. 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima gives long cigarette smokers all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Next time, insist on the best. Buy Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Saturday, January 13th, 1:35 p.m. We showed the photograph of the girl to the proprietor of the photo studio on Melrose Avenue, and he identified her as one of his customers. He told us her name was Doris Chambers. She was 22 years old and a postgraduate student in chemistry at the university. She came from a fairly well-to-do family, and her father was the president of a local neighborhood bank. She didn't even come close to the type of girl that we were looking for. We got the address from the photographer, drove out to the home, and interviewed the Chambers girl. She gave a younger appearance than she did in her picture. She couldn't recognize the handwriting on the photo, nor did she understand the inscription with Love, Catherine. After questioning her, it became apparent that she knew nothing at all about 68-year-old Martin Latimer.
I wonder if you'd mind taking another look at the handwriting on the picture, miss. Is it familiar at all?
No, I couldn't be sure either way. Seems like I've seen it, though.
Well, when did you say you had this picture made, miss?
About a year ago at graduation. My mother had extra copies made up. She liked it. I didn't care for it much.
Could you tell us how many people have prints of this picture?
Mama had 24 copies made up. She took 12, and I took 12.
Uh-huh.
She sent them to relatives, friends of ours. Kept a few.
What'd you do with yours?
Sent them to friends, girls at school, a few of my boyfriends.
Can you remember if you autographed any of them?
Yeah, some of them. The ones from my girlfriend. Others I gave out plain.
Well, can you try and think who you gave those to, miss, the unsigned pictures?
One went to Carl, I know that. And Ray, and Fred and Don, and Warren. I think that's it.
Wonder if we could have their full names and addresses, please.
Yes, all right. I don't know what I'm saving all this junk for. Old letters. Could I see that picture, please?
Yeah, here you are.
What is this in writing? I thought I'd seen it before.
Huh?
This old letter from Warren. See the writing? Doesn't it look the same to you?
Looks close, Joe.
Yeah, we'll have Don Meyer on handwriting check it over. Who is this Warren, Miss Chambers?
Warren White. Here's his address right here.
Yeah, I'll copy it, Joe.
Fine.
Warren and I went to college together. We were engaged to be married for a while, and then I broke it off.
I see.
Warren's a serious boy. He was very thorough. Perfectionist. You know, Sergeant? Never does things halfway.
That's so?
Never known Warren to do anything in his life halfway, not once.
Well, he's going to have a perfect record if that handwriting matches.
What can they do to him?
I don't know, but they won't do it halfway. 2:55 p.m. We left the home of Doris Chambers and drove down Beverly Boulevard to 743 North Clairwood Avenue, an apartment house where the suspect was supposed to be living. We talked to the manager, and he told us that Warren White had moved without giving notice 3 days before, on January 10th, the same day 68-year-old Martin Latimer was found dead in his home. We got on the phone, talked to Doris Chambers again, and she gave us a lead on Warren White's married sister. 7:30 p.m., we met with the sister of the murder suspect, and she told us that her brother Warren had phoned that morning and asked for an emergency loan of $200, which she didn't have to give him. The sister gave us White's new address, and we checked it out. It was one of those run-down, futuristic-style apartment houses built in the mid-30s. It was on a narrow road high above Sunset Boulevard overlooking most of Hollywood. White wasn't in, and the manager said he wasn't expected back till early the next morning. We had the manager let us in White's apartment. We waited. Midnight. 1 a.m. No sign of the suspect.
No denying it. It's sure a beautiful view from here.
It's the best in town. Be nice for single fellows up here, wouldn't it? Wouldn't work with the family, though.
How about you, Joe? Why don't you get your mother looking around up here? It'd be a beautiful place for the two of you.
No, I don't think Ma'd ever leave the house. She's been there for 40 years. I guess she'll stay there till she dies. Would be nice up here, though, wouldn't it? What a view, huh?
Mm-hmm. Why don't you try talking her into it? You got nothing to lose.
I might do that. Why don't you slide up one of the windows? It's getting a little stuffy in here.
Yeah. Oh, smell that air, huh? That's great.
Yeah. What time you got?
1:45. Oh, it's a long night.
We waited. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 4:30. It was cold, and still no sign of the suspect, Warren White. 5 a.m., 5:30, 6 a.m. The sky was getting light over in the east. 6:30, 7 a.m., 7:30. We kept waiting. No sign of the suspect. We called the office and arranged for a relief. 8 a.m., we could hear groups of youngsters passing by outside, trooping into the main yard of a grammar school just below the apartment house. We kept waiting. At 8:15 a.m., we heard a car pull up in front of the apartment house. Footsteps came down the driveway, up the path, stopped outside the door. We heard a key turn in the lock.
What is this? What do you want?
You Warren White?
Yes.
Police officers got some questions we'd like to ask you.
It's all right, officers. Why don't you sit down? I'm not going to give you any trouble.
Huh?
I killed him. Maybe I'll never know why, but I killed him.
You want to tell us about it?
You must have had a reason for it, rigging it for a suicide. Do you have anything against him?
I hardly even knew him. He used that picture of Doris to fool him. Made some good money doing it. I needed it.
You willing to give us a statement about the whole thing?
I haven't anything to hide, officer. The minute I killed him, I knew it was all over. Right there in that 1 minute. I knew you'd come and find me somehow. I didn't know when, but you'd come and find me.
Well, okay, Ben. We better head downtown.
Yeah. What?
It's a great sound, isn't it?
What's that?
The schoolyard.
Yeah.
The kids. Got a great sound to it. Good one.
You want to get your hat?
All right. How can anybody figure? You start in the schoolyard like those kids down there, running around, yelling. I started the same.
Better get going.
I wonder what it is that happens. An 8-year-old redhead kid. There must be one down there now. The other kids will grow up, get jobs, work, and die. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
The one kid will end up in an alley with a gun in his hand. How can anybody figure?
I don't know.
A bunch of kids playing in the schoolyard. Someday one of them's a killer.
Yeah, let's go.
You tell me. What's the answer?
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On April 2nd, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 88, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, it's come to my attention that some people have a misunderstanding about the cost of Fatimas. Well, I'd sure like to straighten that out for you right now. The cost of Fatima is the same as the cigarettes you're now smoking. Yes, that's right. Fatimas cost no more. But in Fatima, the difference is quality. Buy Fatima in the golden yellow package.
Warren Thomas White was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. He received a sentence of life imprisonment. He is still serving his term in the state penitentiary, Folsom, California.
Ladies and gentlemen, to build our strength against aggression, we've got to equip our armed forces with weapons of war and at the same time produce plenty of civilian goods so that we can keep prices down. Remember, the better we produce, the stronger we grow.
Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima, best of all, king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next over NBC.
My name's Jeff Regan. I get 10 a day in expenses from a detective bureau run by a guy named Lyon. Anthony J. Lyon. They call me the Lion's Eye.
With Jack Webb as Jeff Regan, Investigator, stand by for hard-boiled action and mystery and thrilling adventure in tonight's story of The House by the Sea.
This is the way it started. I walked in the office about 11 o'clock that morning. It was a nice, warm day, and I didn't have much on my mind. That's the trouble with nice days. You take a couple of easy breaths, open somebody's door, and it's just like peeling a wrapper off an atomic bomb. The lion was in his den, sitting behind his desk. You couldn't tell where he left off and the desk began. He was talking to a girl with a flock of black hair. He was the kind you see driving a Cadillac convertible down Sunset Boulevard on hot Sunday afternoons. No wonder the lion's cigar was out. It was wet on both ends.
Well, come in, Regan, come in. I was just about to call you, but now that you're here, it makes things simpler. Miss Carmen, this is Mr. Regan.
How do you do, Mr. Regan? Mr. Lyon tells me you're just the man I want.
You said the same thing to a mortician last week.
He is the man I want, Mr. Lyon.
Well, that's fine, Miss Carmen. I knew you'd be pleased. I'm very proud of Jeffrey.
As long as I'm in the cast, how about a look at the script, huh?
Miss Carmen is associated with the famous psychic consultant, Prince Carew.
I help the prince look into people's minds.
Well, that ought to be real fun if all your customers are under 6.
You don't believe in thought transference, Mr. Regan.
Do you?
I said I help the prince.
Prince Carew sent Miss Carmen to retain an operator, Jeffrey. It's a very delicate matter, and I'm placing the entire case in your hands.
Why didn't he come himself?
Do you disapprove of me?
I just want to know what's what.
Well, Prince Carew never appears in public. He prefers to spend his time in meditation and thought.
Yeah.
I handle all of his outside contacts.
So, Jeffrey, you just drive on out to Prince Carew's home in Oceantown with Miss Carmen and speak to the prince.
What kind of a retainer did he send? How much did you get?
Now, see here, Regan, we don't discuss finances in front of clients.
Oh, stop it, will you? This is another blind spot. You don't know what it's all about. All you know is she waltzed in here with a check, and you'd sell your grandmother to a glue factory for $2. How do I know I won't wind up being a patsy again?
Is there any way I can reassure you?
Buy me a battleship.
Jeffrey, have I ever involved you in anything that I wouldn't undertake myself? Have I ever knowingly imperiled your life?
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
Come on, lady. What's it all about? You work for the guy.
Well, I really don't know. He was excited this morning, called me in, gave me this address, and told me to make arrangements.
He must have told you something.
He never tells me anything. As you say, I just work for him. Well?
All right, I'm hired.
Good. Now call me, Jeffrey. Call me if you run into any trouble.
Well, I asked her how about lunch. She said no. I asked her about dinner. She said something that meant no, so I gave up. You know, it's like that sometimes. The flag's up, the meter's ticking, and you're not getting anywhere. But from a couple of things she told me, I got the idea she was doing more than just helping the prince read minds. Well, his place turned out to be a good hour from downtown Los Angeles, up 101. There was a couple of stories of glass and concrete leaning out over the ocean. It was high and dry and quiet up there. And you got a feeling you should be hearing things and feeling things when you looked down and saw that water banging around the bottom of the cliff. She unlocked the door, and a guy in a white turban and some pants that looked like oversized diapers and a pair of tennis shoes was standing there. He had a big curved knife hanging around his waist, and he put his hand on it when he saw me.
Right this way, Mr. Regan.
Who's he, the butcher?
Oh, that's Telly. He works for the prince. Manservant. He's from India.
Yeah, I'll bet the Indians were glad to get rid of him.
Telly's harmless, tongueless, and he doesn't hear. I like you, Mr. Regan.
Come in. Thelma, my dear, you've returned with spoils. Welcome, sir, welcome.
Mr. Regan, this is Prince Carew.
Regan, the lion's eye. I've heard of you, Mr. Regan. I'm honored. Sit down. That'll be all, Thelma. Charming girl, hmm?
She handle all your outside contacts?
Most efficiently. Except, of course, for matters that I must handle personally.
What kind of matters?
I'm in trouble, Mr. Regan, and I beg your assistance.
Well, it's all paid for.
Correct. But there's a personal bonus in this for you.
Why?
Because, sir, I want you to save my life.
You look healthy to me.
I am healthy, let me assure you. But my life has been threatened.
Well, that'd come under police business, wouldn't it?
Normally. Didn't Miss Carmen explain that this was a delicate matter?
Yeah, she did. Why didn't you call the police?
I'm hardly in a position to ask the police for assistance, Mr. Regan. It is a delicate matter.
Outside it says you're a mind reader, all right? What am I thinking now?
That I'm a charlatan, a faker, and that I'm trying to hide something from you.
That gets you the cigar.
It's been a very lucrative arrangement for the most part and very satisfactory. Except, of course, for the annoyance of having my life threatened.
Who's the guy?
It would be of no consequence if it were a man. It's a lady, Mr. Regan. A very beautiful and lovely creature. And she'd like nothing better than to see my carcass go out with the tide.
Why does she want to kill you?
A matter of confidence. Suffice it to say that she is thoroughly capable of doing just that.
How do you know?
One, she is erratic, ill-tempered, ruthless. Two, she called me this morning and told me what she intended to do.
She giving you a chance to reach for your gun?
To reach for you, Mr. Regan.
What do you want me to do?
I feel the entire matter could be settled amicably if you were to call on her. Inform her that you are my personal bodyguard and that you are here to protect my life.
You think she'd go for that?
I'm positive.
How long you been blackmailing her?
What?
Well, your racket might last 6 months or a year, but not long enough to pay for a place like this. The answer's blackmail, isn't it?
Okay. I should have told you.
How do you do it?
I can slip them into a trance. They spell a family secret or two. I push a buck that way.
That's nice.
If you want the minds read, I read them. $25 a parade.
And shakedown.
The guy's got to eat.
You put the squeeze on her.
She's an actress. She was in on a deal at the studios.
She wouldn't shake?
At first, I just told her I had to have a larger fee. Then they come out with it, cold turkey.
Well, she said she'd blow your head off.
Yeah, she's the kind. I went wrong on this one. I'm in a spot.
Who is she?
Grace Nichols, movie actress. Ever heard of her?
Redhead.
Makes you want to go home and kick your wife downstairs if you got one.
That good?
Better. But she means this business about pumping me. And I won't look good dead.
All right, where's she live?
Over in the Palisades. Here's her address. You going over there now?
Yeah.
Be careful.
She isn't gunning for me.
That isn't what I mean. There's a skinny boy there. He's nasty, no callers. Name of Tim Rogers.
I'll remember that.
I hope you can talk her out of it. I've been sweating. I don't want to shake her down. I just want to get a little sleep at night.
I left him sitting there, scratching his bald head under his turban. He looked about as happy as a guy who just ate a Vaseline sandwich. Well, Grace's place was too big for a marble game and too small for football. I think I remember reading something about how she got it from her third husband. There was a big wire fence all around it and a sign every 15 or 20 feet telling you not to trespass. So I parked my car outside the driveway and walked up to the front door. The guy in a chauffeur's uniform was standing there. He looked like a razor blade with arms. He gave me the fisheye and blew smoke in my face and kind of nudged me with his shoulder.
Move on, Pilgrim. No handouts here.
I came to see Grace Nichols.
Yeah.
I got business with her.
Yeah.
So tell her I'm here.
Blow.
You always like this, or did you miss lunch today?
I don't know who you are, Pilgrim, but I don't like you. Beat it.
I know you. There's something about a guy in a lineup.
Yeah?
He memorizes real easy.
Copper.
Investigator.
Private or city, I don't care. You all smell the same.
This isn't hunting season. You always carry a .38?
Does it show?
Maybe you got a broken rib.
A real funny guy. I met all kinds of funny guys. Drifted.
I said I wanted to see her.
And I said she wasn't in.
All right, I'll tell you once more. I got business with her.
So do a couple of hundred other guys.
Watchdog?
Now you're getting smart.
You weren't.
What kind of a crack is that?
I want to see her, I'm going to see her.
Trick I learned a long time ago. Shoot a guy in the knee and he'll never walk straight again.
You ever done it?
Oh, yeah. That's how I learned.
That's one I learned, baby.
Well, I might have to get a new chauffeur. You looking for a job?
I already got one, lady.
Timmy's going to be awfully upset when he finds out what happened to him. When someone works for me, they have to be perfect. Want his job?
They wouldn't let me in.
I'll let you in. You, do that kind of thing often?
When I have to.
I suppose you have a name.
It's Regan. I'm a private investigator.
All right, Mr. Regan, you've earned a perfectly good chauffeur and bodyguard, and you're in my house. What have we got to talk about?
A guy named Carew.
The Prince? Must we talk about him?
He thinks you're dangerous stuff.
So do a lot of people. Tell me, Mr. Regan, what do you think?
About what?
Me.
Right now or when I'm a couple of feet away?
Right now.
Look, remember, I just got here.
I know. You must have a first name. What is it?
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, we'll get along. It's in the cards.
Pretty fast deal.
I like it this way. Fast.
Might be a bum deck.
Never mind. Deal.
That's the bell. How much time between rounds?
Well, you know me better. Hello? Yes? Yes, right here. You know a man named Lion, Jeff?
Uh-huh.
He seems to be roaring.
Give it to me. Yeah.
Regan, is that you?
Well, now, how do you figure it?
Now, don't be smart. Who's the dame who answered the phone?
Our client's friend.
Sounds like she's a friend of yours now, or maybe you have been doing some road work.
Did you have something to say, or is this the day you turned scoutmaster? I'm busy.
Well, you can stop being busy, lover. It's all off.
Don't tell me you're passing up a fee.
I'm passing up nothing. Prince Carroll called me 10 minutes ago and told me to forget the whole thing, and that's what I'm telling you.
How'd you know I was here?
The prince told me, so it's all over. Finished. Forget it.
I've already started something.
I don't care what you started. Now, just remember, you finish it on your own time and expense sheet.
You look worried, Jeff. Anything I can do?
I'm called off.
You mean you're out of a job? I got one. Remember, you put my bodyguard out of commission. You owe me something.
Oh, Tim, boy, he'll come around.
I don't want Tim anymore. I want you. I'll get you a drink. We can talk about it.
Carew told me that Tim was a pretty good boy.
You can fill his shoes. Come here and get your drink. Now, tell me about 9 o'clock tonight.
It'll get dark.
I got a new dress. I think you'll like it.
I probably would.
The place above Malibu. We could have dinner, listen to some music. I want to be with you, Jeff.
That deal's fast again.
I don't care. I don't care. I just decided something, Jeff. I'm going to like being with you. I'm going to like it a lot.
Well, she didn't want me to go. But I was thinking about the prince and the way everything looked. I told her I'd see her that night. I was just climbing into my car when Tim Rogers, her ex-number 1 boy, stepped out from the gate. I waited for him to walk over.
Pretty good with your women, Regan.
You look lonely, Timmy. Somebody stole your popsicle?
Bum joke, Regan. I've been waiting to talk to you. You were so quiet in the house I didn't want to make any noise.
Any better here?
You came out champ this afternoon. But you won't even make the prelims next time.
You got something to say?
Stay away from her.
You're shaking. You need a drink.
Stay away from her, Regan. I've been with her too long. Known her too long to take the bounce from a 2-bit gum heel.
Goodbye.
I'm not finished yet.
That's your version. Now get your foot off that running board, punk, or I'll take it with me. I left him standing in the middle of the driveway. If I'd have waited another minute, he'd have been crying. I stopped off and had some barbecued ribs at a drive-in out on Sunset. It was just getting dark when I got to my place. I had company. It was Velma Carmen, Prince Carew's right-hand man. She was sitting on the edge of my sofa. Her back was as stiff as a filing cabinet, and there was a little ring of white around her lip. She looked like she'd just been measured for a coffin. There was a .25 automatic sitting in her lap.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Regan. I asked the janitor to let me in.
Yeah?
He was very nice about it. I told him I was associated with one of your clients. Yes, I told him I was associated with one of your clients. Did you know that Prince Carew was my husband?
Since when?
Oh, a long time now, a long time. Not many people know that.
Is that what you came here to tell me?
No. I came to tell you that you don't have to worry anymore. None of us have to worry anymore.
You mean you're calling me off the case?
That's it. That's exactly it. I'm calling you off the case.
Yeah. Well, I've already been called off. My office phoned me when I was over at her house.
Where's Nichols?
Yeah.
And it was about her?
Yeah.
Well, then, we don't have to worry anymore, do we?
No.
She's very pretty, isn't she? I've seen her many times. I think she's quite pretty. I could hardly blame the prince. I could hardly blame him at all.
What are you getting at?
Because all the others were pretty, too.
Where'd you get that gun?
This. I bought it for $30.
Let me see it, huh?
Oh, yes. I brought it here so I could show it to you. I paid $30 for it. I paid $30. I'd imagine the air would be cleaner in there, don't you?
What are you talking about?
I mean, it's really very humane, they tell me. It's just like sitting down and never waking up. I read all about it. You just walk in and sit down, and if you don't try to hold your breath, you go to sleep, don't you? You've met murderers before, Mr. Regan. Do I make a good murderer? Do I make a good murderer?
Stop it, will you? You trying to tell me you killed him?
Oh, Mr. Regan, that's why I came here. I shot him. I walked up behind him and I put the gun close to his back and pulled the trigger. They don't make such a great deal of noise, do they? I left him sitting there in his house by the sea, and he looks very much alive. Only he isn't alive at all. Now answer me. Now answer me. Do I make a good murderer? Do I make a...
You are listening to the story of The House by the Sea, tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator. They're still available for qualified nurses. Yes, the Army Nurse Corps Reserve still has commissions available. If you are a graduate registered nurse between the ages of 21 and 45, you may be eligible for a commission in the Army Nurse Corps section of the Regular Officers Reserve. To find out if you do qualify for a commission in the Army Nurse Corps Reserve, apply to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. And now, back to the story of The House by the Sea and Jeff Regan, Investigator.
Well, after she got through, she settled down to a slow, even kind of a giggle that started somewhere around her shoelaces and didn't get past her knees. It was one of those things that gives you a feeling like somebody's standing in back of you with a red-hot iron ready to press your pants before you get them off. Well, she wasn't going to do any more talking, so I went downstairs and brought back a doctor friend of mine named Sammy Wing. He brought his little black bag with him and gave her a shot of something. She wilted like last night's orchid and went to sleep on my couch. Sammy began talking.
Some playmate. Wish I'd have been here for the party. I had 4 appendectomies and 1 broken leg today. So dull life.
Well, how is she?
You know her better than me.
No, she's going to be all right.
But she'll wake up in 5 or 6 hours and want some water.
And then what?
She might ask you what happened, or it might start all over again, whatever it was. By the way, what was it?
Well, I found her here when I got home.
I should find something like this.
She said she killed an ex-client of mine.
Oh, maybe I'm lucky at that. What does all the past tense mean?
I was called off the case.
Oh, nice. It's all clean, no clients to protect. Is there a corpse someplace?
I don't know, Sammy.
Call the police, they'll find out. And then you and me can go out and get a drink.
She said she used this gun. Smell it, Sammy. It hasn't been fired. Safety catch is still on.
She's pretty and she's nice, and I'll bet she looks like $1 million in a bathing suit. But if I'd have met her within the last 3 hours, I'd have run for help. Call the police.
Is that professional?
This is acute hysteria. The kind that pops off guns and pops off people, and there's a lot of things they can't remember later on. Call the police.
What about the gun?
What about guns? Call the coroner while you're at it. Tell him to go out there with some DOA forms. He'll use them.
Will you stay here with her till I get back?
Corpse hunt?
Just an idea.
Hitler had an idea.
The odds were against him.
You got about as much chance as a 3-legged horse in the Kentucky Derby. She's bit somebody, and she's told you about it.
I want to make sure.
What do they do when a private eye walks in and messes up a nice, clean murder?
Sammy, will you stay?
Had any bourbon around here?
Yeah.
Okay, take your time. Maybe both of us will get our pictures in the paper.
I left him with a kind of a soft smile on his face, like he had some inside information on Tuesday's winner at Del Mar. Well, it was 9:30 by the time I got there, and it was dark enough to give a ghost the creeps. It was different, too. Maybe it was the fog. I used that ring of keys I'd taken from her purse. It smelled dry and funny inside, and it was real quiet, like somebody was waiting for the world to fall apart. I clicked on my flashlight, and I walked down the long hall to his office. He was there, just like she said. There were 3 holes in the front of his shirt, but it wasn't the laundry's fault. I spotted the .38 on the floor by his hand. I broke it, and 3 cartridges came out. It was the right gun for the job. He was pretty messed up. While I was standing there trying to figure Velma Carmen's story, the lights came on. A fat man wearing a sheriff's star was standing by the switch. There was a taller man in a brown overcoat next to him. They both looked like they'd just finished dinner.
Scavenger hunt, son? You don't talk, Charlie.
Ain't much for him to say, is there, Cap?
Guess not. Well, son?
Oh, it looks like you're going to be calling me names.
What do you like best? Killer, murderer, or slayer? The papers use slayer a lot.
I don't like any of them.
Kind of breezy for a hot boy, ain't you? Mind giving me a name?
It's Regan. I'm a private detective.
It's Regan. He's a private detective, Cap.
Yeah. Got a card or something with you, son?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's right. But International. Lion still there?
Yeah.
Who's that?
An old bum I used to know. Regan, why do you go around killing people? The Lion will be mad.
Look, this is a fix.
Now, why do you want to say a thing like that?
Somebody tip you?
Phone call a little while ago.
Huh?
Funny kind of a voice, a whisper. Said we'd find a stiff up here, but didn't say we'd find you.
You're extra.
Look, I just came here to see what it was all about.
Same thing we did. Only we come up with a suspect and a corpse. No cop could ask for anything better. Charlie, better call a coroner. Oceantown's just a small place, Regan. Only me and Charlie around. We borrow from the county when we get something like this.
I can find you a real answer in an hour.
You let me and Charlie worry about that. You look good enough for the time being. All right, son. Let's go.
I had as much chance as an elephant in a tea room, and if those two locked me up and booked me. So I leaned back into his gun and spun around and knocked his wrist down. He pulled the trigger. By that time, I flicked the light switch and was out the door. I didn't run for my car. I cut across the driveway and doubled back up the hill. I could hear him yelling and shooting out in the dark. I hailed a cab about 5 blocks away, and he took me to the place above Malibu. I found her in a booth with a piano player. She was wearing one of those black strapless things, and it was worrying a couple of bald-headed guys sitting at the bar.
You're late, Jeff. We said 9 o'clock. I had 3 drinks all alone. You want me to get mad, or are you going to catch up?
How long you been here?
You sound like you're out of the mood. I thought we were going to look at the stars together.
How long you been here?
It's 9 o'clock. What's the matter?
I've been working tonight.
Well, it's after hours now. Tell me how you like my new dress.
It's the right color with the wrong cut for a funeral.
I haven't read the obituaries today.
It'll be in tomorrow's paper, only it'll make the front page.
Have a drink? Let's wait for tomorrow.
Your friend was killed tonight.
What friend?
Carew.
He was no friend of mine. I told you that.
So did he.
Car smash up, or did he fall off his house?
38.
We didn't talk about him this afternoon. Let's not start now.
Look, 2 cops in Oceantown are kind of crowding me. They think I'm going to take a good picture.
Is that why you're late?
It's a murder rap, lady.
We should have had dinner together.
They'll be knocking down your door in the morning.
Why, darling?
Because you threatened to kill him, because he hired me to call you off.
Oh, wait a moment, Jeff. You've been having fun up to now. Who told you that?
Why do you think he sent me over today to sell magazines?
I never found out you were called off. I suppose he hired you to scare me. Jeff, we're old friends now. I can tell you a family secret.
I know about him blackmailing you. And that puts you ahead of me for the cops. Did you do it?
I don't know. Did you? What he told you don't sound right.
What does sound right?
I went to him one day and put him in a trance, only I used scotch. Found out what he was doing and how I was doing it, so I turned the tables. It was good, clean fun, but expensive for him.
You've been draining him?
I thought that's why you came today. That's why I had Tinny around.
Well, some of this is beginning to make change. If he was your meal ticket, then you got an alibi.
I don't feel like stars anymore, Jeff. Let's go from my place and talk.
On the way over, she didn't have much to say, and I couldn't think of anything. I was all too mixed up. If she'd really been shaking him down, then she figured out. And the girl back in my apartment figured in. Only she had the wrong gun. And then there was a little business that I'd have to explain with the Oceantown cops. Well, when we turned in the driveway, I stopped figuring. Tim Rogers, the man with the guns, was there, standing on the porch.
Oh, gorgeous. I've been waiting to see you. You're home late.
I thought I fired you.
Still tramping with this tramp, huh? I thought you'd be sick of him by now.
For once, I'm glad to see you, Tim boy.
That sounds cozy, but I don't want to see you.
I know where your 38 is.
You're wrong. It's her 38. And it's got her prints on it.
Jeff, he's making it look bad for me.
Ask him what he's doing here, will you?
Just in for a showdown, Angel. You're tagged for his murder. They'll want you. I fixed it good. I can fix it so you can get away.
How?
A friend of mine shoving off at Pedro. 4 o'clock. To go all over the world.
Jeff, if all of this is straight, I'm in a spot.
Relax. This guy never did anything right.
Tell me how I'm wrong.
All right, that tip to the Oceantown cops was wrong. Trying to pile up a scare on me was wrong. Killing Cairo was wrong, and this clinches it.
Yeah? Well, that's where you're twisted, Pilgrim. I got a warrant out for you right now. Plugging a murder suspect is something they'll thank me for.
You said her prints were on that gun?
They'll find that out in the morning. And how was I to know? Just happened to hear on the radio they were looking for you tonight. I see you, I plug you. Everybody will be sorry, but it'll be manslaughter and suspended. I worked it once in Toledo. What do you say, Angel? Do I plug him and meet you somewhere in 2 weeks?
Let me have a smoke. Let me think it over.
Sure. Sure, go ahead. Angel.
Well, the gun's empty now.
I carried this for 3 years. I never used it. He deserved to die, didn't he? Didn't he, Regan, didn't he?
I don't know, lady. You knew him better. Well, it unwound like red thread in the Levi factory. Grace Nichols had been putting the shake on the prints. He got tired of it and called me in and told me his phony story so he'd have a good self-defense angle when he finally got around to shooting her some afternoon. He had Tim planted there to keep me from really seeing her. Oh, it was a nice idea, only I bounced Tim and got inside. And then Tim made a phone call and the lion jerked me before I had a chance to compare notes with her. I guess Tim went kind of crazy seeing how well we got along together, and he figured Grace would do anything if she was wanted for murder. So he killed the prince and made her the patsy with those fingerprints. She'd handled the gun before, see. But then I had my caller, Velma Carmen, the prince's wife. She went kind of crazy, too, when she walked in and found him dead. It took 3 doctors a couple of weeks to tell her what really happened. When I told it all to the lion, he was mad at first, but then he saw Grace Nichols' picture in the paper. He asked just one question. What was I doing at Grace's place all afternoon? I didn't even bother to answer him.
Jack Webb is featured as Jeff Regan with Wilms Herbert as Anthony J. Lyon. It's CBS same time next week for hard-boiled action and mystery with Jeff Regan, Investigator. Written by E. Jack Newman, produced by Sterling Tracy. The role of Grace Nichols was played by Betty Lou Gerson, David Ellis was Tim Rogers, Lorene Tuttle was Velma Carmen, and Marvin Miller was Prince Carew. 29,000 nurses are needed to join the new Army Nurse Corps Officers Reserve. 4,000 of them, if they wish, may choose active duty. All nurses who receive reserve commissions will benefit from the opportunity for specialized training offered to them by the Army. The educational opportunities offered the nurse by the Army Medical Department will be of great advantage to her in her work. Don't wait. If you're a registered graduate nurse between the ages of 21 and 45, drop a card now for complete information to the Adjutant General, Washington, D.C. Original music for this program is by Dick Arant. Jeff Regan, Investigator, is heard every Saturday at 9:30 over CBS. Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. A gang of hijackers has set up operations in your city. Truckloads of merchandise worth thousands of dollars vanish completely. The criminals know their business. Their system appears foolproof. Your job, stop them. Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Now, because of its quality, more smokers coast to coast insist
contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
So compare Fatima yourself today.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Remember, the cost of Fatima is the same as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Remember, in Fatima, the difference is quality. Next time, buy Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Saturday, November 8th. It was foggy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Gillian. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from R&I, and it was 11:23 a.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery detail.
Joe?
Hi.
Where you been, anyhow? I've been sitting here 20 minutes waiting for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been checking a couple of names through R&I. It took a little longer than I figured.
The least you could do is leave a note in the book. I do the same for you. I've been sitting here 20 minutes.
Oh, I told you I'm sorry. What's the matter? You feeling well?
No, I'm all right. I'd just like a little cooperation, Joe, that's all.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I was mad when I woke up. Got a crazy house.
Well, what's the trouble? Did you have an argument with your wife?
In-laws are visiting again. 6 of them.
Oh, where are they sleeping?
All over the place. 4 adults, 2 kids, and a gray fox terrier. He's not even housebroken.
How long are you going to stay? A couple of days?
2 weeks. I don't know how I can last it out, Joe. They're crawling all over the place. Kids screaming, dog tearing up the front room, no privacy. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, why don't you just level with them? Ask them if they wouldn't mind staying at a motel for a couple of days.
I suggested that to the wife this morning.
What'd she think?
That's when the argument started.
Oh.
Hey, I almost forgot to tell you that truck driver finally showed up, that Frank Burris.
Oh, yeah, it's about time. Where is he?
Took him across the hall to the mug room. Got him checking out some coming-out mug books. Guess we better see how he's doing.
All right. He sure took his time getting here, didn't he?
Yeah, didn't offer any excuses. He's no more help than he was yesterday.
Yeah?
Surly. Not very cooperating. How you doing, Mr. Burris? You remember my partner, Sergeant Friday.
Yeah, Burris.
I got a headache. This is just a waste of time wading through all these pictures. I've been through 2 of these books already. I couldn't identify any of the guys.
Yeah, we know it's pretty tedious. We'd just like to have you check through a few more volumes, if you wouldn't mind.
Look, I don't mind giving you a hand when I got time, but I got things to do today. I got something on for tonight. Have to get a haircut, my suit pressed.
Well, this thing's pretty important to us, Burroughs. I know we're putting you out, but we need every lead we can get. We'd certainly appreciate it if you could just give us a little more cooperation.
I don't know what else I can do. I told you everything I know, just the way it happened.
A few more things we'd like to ask you about, sir. Some of the details you didn't make quite clear.
What details? How do you mean?
Details about the hijacking. Mind going over it again for us?
I laid it out for you the last time you talked to me, just the way it went. It's the same as the rest.
Well, how do you mean the same as the rest?
Well, the other hijackings are the same as those, no different.
You pretty familiar with the other jobs, are you?
Oh, followed them in the paper, read the bulletin the cops got out on them. It's up on the dispatch board in the garage. Is that fresh water in that cooler over there?
Yeah, I think so. Help yourself.
Thanks. Gotta have a couple of aspirin for this headache. Can't take aspirin without water.
Yeah. You've been driving a couple of years for Lavelle Trucking Line. Is that right, Burroughs?
That's right, yeah.
What if you'd mind running it through for us again, Burroughs? Maybe there's a few details about the thing that you forgot to mention, huh?
It won't be any different than last time. I pulled out from the loading dock about 6 o'clock yesterday morning, hauling a load of Scotch whiskey over to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled up for the red light at Alameda and Jackson. That's when the guy pulled open the door and got in next to me. Put a gun in my ribs, told me to look straight ahead. First thing he did was hand me a pair of goggles and tell me to put them on. Same kind the welders use. Front of the lens was covered with tape. I put them on. I couldn't see a thing. Guy took over the wheel and started driving.
Well, did you have any idea what direction you were heading in?
No, not with the goggles on. I tried to follow at first, but I got all mixed up. Couldn't tell where he was driving. Made quite a few turns. He drove about 20, 25 minutes, I guess, before we pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the switching point was. 2 more guys met us there. I could only tell by the voices. They pulled me out of the truck and put me in a car.
Well, can you tell us anything at all about that transfer point? I mean, were there any sounds, anything like that that would give you an idea that maybe where you were?
Well, I figure it must have been someplace out in the valley, pretty far out. No traffic sounds at all, just crickets, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
He got me in that car, drove around about an hour, I figure. And they put me on out at the side of the road, told me to leave the goggles on for 10 minutes, and then they drove off.
Well, how about those two men at the transfer point? If you heard their voices again, you think you could recognize them?
I don't know. I doubt it. They didn't say too much. Not that I heard, anyway.
I'm just curious, Burris. How is it you thought of calling your company first instead of the police?
Well, it's their cargo, a whole load of whiskey. If somebody hijacked it, I figure the company ought to be the first to know.
I'd like to ask you just one more question. There's no offense intended here.
Yeah?
You ever been arrested?
Well, why? What'd that have to do with it?
Well, probably nothing at all. Have you ever been arrested?
I'd like to set you straight on it right now. If you think I was working inside on this thing, you got it wrong. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Then there's nothing to worry about, is there?
All right. Yeah, I've been arrested.
When was that, Burroughs?
About 10 years ago. It was back east, West Virginia.
What was the charge?
Hijacking.
Our records showed no previous arrests for Frank Burroughs. For the next few days, he was kept under observation. When we got the kickback from Washington, it showed Burroughs had one previous arrest, the one he told us about, for hijacking. We checked all his friends, relatives, and associates. We found nothing suspicious. His employer said that they were aware of his police record, but they told us that Burroughs was one of the best drivers they had. There was nothing to link him with a series of hijackings which had been going on all over the city for the past month. Our crime lab checked the pair of goggles which Burroughs had been forced to wear during the hijacking. They were an ordinary industrial type, easily obtained and impossible to trace. Other than those belonging to Burroughs, there were no fingerprints on them. Late that afternoon, the missing truck and trailer was found empty in a deserted section of the valley. No latent fingerprints or other physical evidence. 9 a.m. the next morning, we met with Captain Gillian.
Cargo's gone, huh? Not a trace of it. That's it, Skipper. High-grade Scotch whiskey, 150 cases. Got out of Bolton all the liquor wholesalers. And serial numbers listed. That ex-con Burroughs, nothing turned up on him?
No, nothing. We double-checked everything about him. He's clean.
You didn't get a thing off that abandoned truck?
No prints, no physical evidence. Seems like they got it down to a science.
Tell that to Thad Brown. He's getting all the kicks from the warehouse operators. 30 days and 6 hijackings. How about moving faster? Well, as you know, we got 12 stakeouts running down freight loads, Skipper. Yeah. Incoming, outgoing. Got 3 girls in the stats office doing nothing but making runs for us. No new suspect.
We got a meeting with an informant after lunch. He figures he may have something. There's nothing to bank on.
How about an inside tip-off on these jobs? Any indication the gang's working something like that? No, nothing definite, Skipper. Jobs seem to be pretty well cased, though. We've checked out everybody with a record working for the trucking lines. No reason to think any of them had a hand in it. Excuse me a minute. Gillian. Yeah. Live Oak near Trenton Avenue. Yeah, I got it right. Thank you. We got another truck early this morning. Where? There's the location. Better move on it. Looks like they got their signals crossed.
How do you mean?
Doesn't make sense. Cargo they hijacked.
What was it?
A load of toothbrushes.
9:23 a.m. Ben and I drove to the intersection of Live Oak Drive and Trenton Avenue in the Hollywood Hills, where we located the latest driver to fall victim to the gang of hijackers. His story was the same as the others. He'd stopped his truck for a red light at a deserted intersection when a man jumped on the running board and pointed a gun at his head. The man with the gun took over the wheel and forced the driver to put on a pair of blacked-out welder's goggles. Then the truck was moved to a remote spot where the driver was transferred to a car and later released in a remote section of the Hollywood Hills. The hijacked truck was found empty a day later. And again, there was no physical evidence, no fingerprints. The driver could add little to what we already knew. The only point that made the case any different from those that had gone before was the cargo that had been stolen, a load of toothbrushes. We began an immediate check of the neighborhood where, according to the driver, he was first held up. It was a fairly remote intersection in the San Fernando Valley. After 4 hours of interviewing ranchers and gas station attendants, we talked to the operator of a practice driving range for golfers located just off the highway. His name was Fred Garrison.
Matter of fact, I did notice something out of the ordinary this morning. A little before 6 a.m., I think. Spotted this big semi turning off on that dirt road down the highway there.
Which dirt road is that, Mr. Garrison?
Oh, right up the highway there. See it?
Oh,
It turns off by that clump of trees.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't figure out why a big truck and trailer be taking that road. Doesn't make sense.
How do you mean, sir?
Well, it's a dead end. No reason why a driver would turn off there by mistake. There's a big sign right there at the intersection. Says not a through street. Right there. See it? Plain as day.
I wonder if you could describe the truck for us, Mr. Garrison.
Well, it's pretty good size. One of those big aluminum jobs. Black lettering on the side, I think. Yeah, it turned off the highway, went down the dirt road a little ways, and then it turned off into that grove of trees, and the driver cut the lights.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice any activity going on at all?
No, I didn't. Oh, maybe I should have walked over and checked it. I figured it was just some truck driver pulling up to catch a few winks of sleep.
I see.
My boy Dave was with me at the time. Wanted to check it, but I told him to mind his own business. He says a couple of minutes after the truck pulled in, he saw a gray sedan come down the road and park next to the truck right in that same clump of trees.
Well, now, didn't all this look a little suspicious to you, sir?
Oh, I suppose so, in a way. I just don't like to meddle where it's not my business, that's all.
Well, did your boy Dave get a good look at this gray sedan? Do you know that?
You want to come in the office and sit down?
Sure.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, sit right there if you like.
Fine, thank you.
Let's see now. Where were we?
About your boy, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
You said that he saw a gray sedan pull in next to the truck over in that clump of trees. Did he mention anything else that he noticed about the car? I mean, other than the fact that it was a gray sedan.
Well, yeah, I think he did say something else about it. Now, let's see. Wasn't listening too close at the time. Dave's doing some errands downtown for me right now. He'll be phoning in pretty soon, though. I can ask him about it then. He paid a lot more attention to the thing than I did.
Well, how long were the truck and trailer and that sedan parked in the grove of trees? Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, not too long. Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The car pulled out first and took off down the highway away from town. That way, see?
Mm-hmm.
And the truck and trailer left a few minutes after. What do you figure they were up to?
We've got an idea. What time was that again, sir, when you saw the truck turn off the highway onto the dirt road?
About 6 a.m. Maybe a few minutes one way or the other.
I wonder if you'd show us the exact spot where you saw that truck park, would you?
Oh, sure. Here. You want to come over here with me to the window?
All right.
Now, you see the clump of trees there?
Yeah.
Eucalyptus.
Mm-hmm.
They border right on the road?
Yeah.
Maybe that's him now.
All right.
Garrison Fairways. Oh, yeah, Dave. How'd you make out? Mm-hmm. Oh, fine. No. Listen, a couple policemen here now. They're asking about that truck and that gray sedan you saw up on the road this morning. Want to know what you noticed about the sedan besides the color. How's that? Oh, you did, uh-huh. Yeah? Well, you better head back here. They probably want to talk to you about it. All right, Davy. Bye.
What do you have to say?
Oh, he'll be back in about 20 minutes. I figured you want to talk to him.
Well, how about the sedan, sir? Did you get a pretty good look at it, did he say?
Yeah, I guess so. He got part of the license number.
Fred Garrison's son, Dave, returned and gave us all the pertinent facts about the truck and the gray sedan which he'd noticed in the neighborhood early that morning. His description of the truck and trailer, what he saw of it anyway, matched closely with that of the latest vehicle to be hijacked. He described the car as a gray sedan, and he said it looked to him like it was a late model Nash, but he couldn't be sure. He said the first 3 units on the license plate were 7T7. The location in the grove of trees where the truck had been spotted was checked thoroughly. Outside of some indefinite tire tracks, there was no physical evidence. 4:10 p.m., we put in a call to DMV and asked for a rundown on the 3 license plate numbers. The next morning, DMV returned to us a list of more than 1,000 auto registrations, which began with the figure 7T7. We went down the list and gradually eliminated 600 of these as not being physically close in description to the car seen by Garrison's boy, Dave. We kept checking. Almost 300 more on the list were registered in distant parts of the state. That left us with over 100 vehicles registered in or around Los Angeles to check out. It went slow. 3 weeks passed. We narrowed the list down to 23 possibles. Tuesday, December 10th. We were checking registrations with addresses in the east end of the city.
What's the name on this one again?
Perry. Walter R. Perry.
Garage is straight back to drive. There's a car parked in it.
Yeah. Let's try the bell again, huh?
What do you say?
All right, let's give the car a look.
People sure do get careless. Nobody home, garage wide open, car sitting there.
Qualifies so far.
You want to check the steering post there, registration stamp?
Get it, yeah.
Check out all right?
Just a minute.
What do you got there?
Here. Found these under the seat.
Oh, maybe we're home.
Yeah, it's a pair of goggles. Take a look.
Yeah.
Both lenses covered with tape.
You're in the forgery division of the Metropolitan Police Department. Handwriting analysis.
Let's check it against the forged letter. The capitals print evenly. The O's and the A's are clean. No, this isn't the typewriter we're looking for. Yeah. Capitals print high. A's and O's are solid. P's slanted. This is the one.
It's the same with cigarettes. There are many king-size brands to choose from. But when you know all the facts, you'll make your choice Fatima.
Here are those facts. Fatimas are the same in length and circumference. 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as any other king-size cigarette.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Remember, Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. You get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you are now smoking. Next time, buy Fatima.
Tuesday, December 10th, 2:15 p.m. The pair of goggles found in the automobile registered to Walter R. Perry were the same brand and style as the goggles used to black out the truck drivers in all the previous hijackings. Ben and I searched the car, but we failed to come up with any additional physical evidence. We left the garage, checked the house again to make sure that there was nobody at home. Then we went down the street close to the house to where we parked our car. We put in a call to R&I and requested a make on Walter R. Perry. He had no previous criminal record. A few minutes later, we spotted two women loaded with grocery bags come down the street, go up the stairs of the Perry house, and let themselves in with a key. We went up to the front door, rang the bell, and the younger of the two women answered. Dark brown hair, blue eyes, about 5'6", 28, 29 years old. We identified ourselves, and she showed us into the living room. She told us her name was Leona Perry and that Walter Perry was her husband. They'd been married 11 years, no children. We asked her where her husband was, and she said he was out of town on a business trip up north to Monte Vista, California. We asked her what line of business he was in.
Well, right now, Walter's a jewelry salesman. He works for himself. Has to do quite a bit of traveling.
Your husband's blonde, about 5'9", 160 pounds, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
How'd he go up north, ma'am, do you know?
Well, I think he went up by train. I'm not sure.
You have any idea how we might contact your husband up north?
No, I'm afraid I don't. He said he had a couple of business appointments in different towns in that area up there. He didn't tell me where he'd be staying. What's it about, Sergeant?
Just a routine check, Miss Perry. Is that a photograph of your husband over there on the piano?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When's he expected back, do you know?
Well, let's see. This is Tuesday. He should be home sometime Thursday.
I see. A minute ago, you said right now your husband's a jewelry salesman. Is that his usual line of work?
No, Walter's a truck driver.
You work here in Los Angeles?
No, he drove for a company up north in the Bay Area, Oakland, Berkeley. He had that job for 10 years, almost from the day we were married.
Mm-hmm.
And then last December, he had a fight with the boss and he quit. We moved down here to find work, but he just couldn't seem to get placed.
How long has he been selling jewelry, ma'am?
Oh, about 8 months, I'd say. He's doing very good at it. We have more now than when he was driving a truck. A lot of money in the jewelry business.
Well, it's just you and your husband living here, is that right?
No, my mother lives with us, too. We just got back from doing the shopping. I guess she's busy putting the groceries away.
I see.
Mom? Ma?
Oh, say that's all right, ma'am. I think you can give us the information we need.
Well, I'd like to know what this is about. I'd appreciate it if you'd tell me. Walter isn't in any kind of trouble, is he?
Just a routine investigation, Miss Perry. Doesn't necessarily mean your husband's involved.
I can tell you right now, my husband isn't involved in anything. Walter's never had trouble with the police in his life.
Walter has trouble with the police? What is it, Leona?
It's nothing, Ma. These policemen want to talk to Walter. They just want to ask him a few questions, that's all. This is my mother, Mrs. Burt. Ma, this is Mr. Friday, Mr. Romero.
I told you, Leona. I felt it all day. Something's wrong. Walter's done something, hasn't he?
Now, don't start on that again, Ma, please. The officers told me they want to talk to Walter, that's all.
What for? If he hasn't done anything, why do they want to talk to him?
Routine duty, ma'am. There's nothing to get excited about.
I knew it would happen. I felt it all the time. That funny job he has, selling jewelry, going out at all hours. Couldn't fool me. I knew it wasn't right. What's he done? We're his relatives. We got a right to know.
Well, there's nothing we can tell you definitely, ma'am. How about these odd working hours your husband has, Miss Perry? What's the reason for that? Could you tell us?
Well, I don't know. Walter works for himself. He just has to make business contacts when he can, that's all. Sometimes it's late at night, sometimes early in the morning. Why don't you stay out of it, Ma? After all, it's our business. Walter's and mine.
You just mark my word, Leona. Find out about this. That husband of yours has done something, and these policemen are after him. I knew it wasn't right. I felt it all along.
Please stay out.
His jewelry business is big money. I should have left and taken you with me the day it started. Walter's a truck driver. It's all you'll ever be. It's where he should have stayed.
Why are you always picking on Walter? Why?
Because I told you in the first place you never should have married him. 11 years ago, I told you. I never should have come to stay with you. You couldn't go and marry one of those nice boys you met at school. It had to be Walter Perry. Well, maybe you'll see now. Trouble with the police. Now you'll see what kind of a man you married.
Shut up, Ma. Sorry, officer.
Well, I'm afraid that isn't helping much, Miss Burt.
I suppose not. What is it that can help? You have kids, you try to tell them something, make it easy for them, they never listen.
Now, that gray sedan back in the garage, ma'am, does anyone else drive it besides Mr. Perry, do you know?
No, Leona doesn't drive. Walter's the only one who runs it.
He drives it to all these business appointments he has at odd hours?
That's right. How many times he doesn't take it's when he's out of town.
You ever seen this pair of goggles before, ma'am?
No, I never have. What does it mean, that tape all over the front of them?
Well, how about your son-in-law's friends? Do you ever bring any of them here to the house?
Not since I've been staying here the last 6 months. Letters from men call him on the phone. He goes out. Doesn't bring anyone around, though. Oh, I'm just sick of it.
Well, can you tell us anything about this jewelry business Mr. Perry's working in?
I don't even want to think about it. I raised 4 daughters, nice girls, every one of them, attractive. You make plans for them and you want them to be happy and marry some nice fellow, have a nice, comfortable home. You try to tell them and they never listen.
About the car, ma'am.
They get to be 17 and they know everything. My girls could have married wealthy if they were smart. A lot of other girls have done it. They had nice clothes, they got through business school, good home training, all this talk about love. They're all so smart. They know everything and they know nothing. This is what happens. You wake up and find out.
Would you finish putting the groceries away, Ma? I've talked to the office.
Anything you want, Leona. Didn't mean to upset you. Maybe things will be all right.
Just a few more questions, Miss Perry, that's all.
Well, whatever it is, I know Walter hasn't done anything wrong. He wouldn't do anything wrong. It doesn't make sense. There's just no reason for it.
I remember your father, Leona. 16 years we were married. One night he packed up and left me. There wasn't any reason for that either.
Wasn't there, Ma?
We continued questioning the wife and the mother-in-law of the suspect, Walter Perry. From the wife, we got the names and addresses of 4 close friends of Perry's who were supposed to be associates of his in the jewelry business. In the basement and in a loft over the garage, we found more than a dozen cases of high-grade Scotch whiskey, cases of expensive furs, and other loot taken in the hijackings. Mrs. Perry said her husband told her he was storing the stuff for some friends. It was only a small portion of the take. We called the office and got out a broadcast and an APB on the suspect and arranged for an immediate stakeout on the Perry house. And then, together with Matthews and Gonzalez from robbery detail, we began checking out the 4 close friends of the suspect. We could locate only 2 of them, but those 2 paid off. In the basements and garages of their homes, we found another portion of the loot, along with evidence that showed that both men had taken active parts in the hijackings. They were booked at the main jail on suspicion of 211 PC. A full week went by. The stakeout continued on the Perry house. Still no sign of him. Saturday, December 20th, 4:45 p.m. We checked back in at the office.
This thing's sure dragging out, huh?
Yeah, it'd be nice to wrap it up before Christmas, wouldn't it? Get it out of the way. Might work into a couple of days off.
No, I don't know if I'm too interested, Joe.
What?
The days off, I mean. We got visitors on the way again.
What do you mean, for the holidays? Who's coming?
Same old bunch. My brother-in-law and his wife and his kids and that little dog of theirs.
Well, they were just with you for 3 weeks, weren't they? What's the deal?
Oh, brother-in-law got home, found a notice from his company. He's been transferred out here.
Oh.
They're going to stay with us all through the holidays, and then they'll start house hunting. How about that?
You've got a problem.
It's got a new rug in the living room. How about 20 to 1 on it, Joe?
What's that?
That little fox terrier. Oh, hi, Skipper. Anything before we check out?
Piece of news for you. Just talked to the Ventura Sheriff's Office. We owe them a favor.
What do you mean?
They grabbed Walter Perry half an hour ago.
Monday, December 22nd. Suspect Walter Perry was returned to Los Angeles. He was taken to the interrogation room where Captain Didion, Ben, and I questioned him for almost 2 hours. He was confronted with the evidence and testimony against him, and after another hour and a half of interrogation, he broke. He gave us a full signed statement describing his part in the campaign of hijackings. He also gave us the names of everyone in the gang, how they participated, and to what extent. He said most of the property looted from the hijacked trucks was stored in a rented barn located at the north end of the San Fernando Valley. A detail of men checked it and confirmed the information. The suspect's wife, Leona, was notified of her husband's arrest. 1:35 p.m. We completed our interrogation.
That's it, Perry. Let's go.
You asked me a lot of questions. How about it? Can I ask you one?
What's that?
Well, why do you think I did it? Why I got mixed up in this?
Well, according to your statement, you wanted the money, admit it.
Well, you've been out to my house, haven't you? You met my wife?
Yeah, that's right.
I guess you met her mother, too.
Yeah.
Well, then you got it. Nobody in the world could make me go for a hijack deal, but she could. I even remember the morning I'd made up my mind to do it. I was out in the kitchen. I could hear yapping at Leona in the other room, same old roasting.
Mm-hmm.
The lousy truck driver, that was me. 11 years the wife and I had been married. Her mother lived with us, 9 of them. Didn't get any better, didn't get any worse, just the same old yapping. Her and her 4 girls. Why couldn't they listen to her? They were the best girls in the world. Why couldn't they marry money? Why did it have to be guys like truck drivers, stupid truck drivers? Same thing every day, always the same. 9 years of it. So I went out to get enough money to rub in her face, enough to make her choke on me. You can hate somebody for that. I don't know how many years they'll give me, but I'm going to hate her, everyone.
Matt?
Oh, hi, Olson.
Flower remain jail. This one ready to go?
Only be a minute, Rex.
Right.
Thank you. All right, Perry.
Yeah. Sergeant, my wife's been told, huh? She knows about it?
She's waiting outside in the hall with her mother. You can see him on the way out.
Oh, thanks.
Walter.
Hi, honey. I'm sorry.
Walter, why did you do it?
Ask your mother there, honey. You heard as much of it as I did.
9 years' worth. I guess it finally got me sick. She wanted you to have money, so I went out to get it. You come and see me when you can?
Leona isn't going to any jail to see you. I knew it all along. I knew what your words, the truth. She never should have married you.
All right, Perry. Let's go, mister.
Hold.
Why?
How you figure? I don't know. How about some coffee?
Okay. Sure is funny. You see other people sweating it out, your troubles look like nothing. I'm just thinking about it.
What's that?
Those in-laws of mine.
What about them?
Guess I haven't got it half bad.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On March 5th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, from our many talks with law enforcement agencies and letters from police officers, we're especially gratified to know that a great number of these men agree with us, that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes. Now, our latest sales figures back that up. Every week, more and more smokers are enjoying king-size Fatimas, people from every state, from all walks of life. If you haven't tried Fatimas yet, buy a pack tomorrow. In Fatima, the difference is quality. The quality is better, but the cost of Fatima is the same as the cigarettes you're now smoking. Next time, buy king-size Fatima.
Walter Richard Perry was tried and convicted on several counts of robbery in the first degree. He was sentenced to the state penitentiary for the term prescribed by law. First-degree robbery is punishable by a term of 5 years to life. His accomplices received similar sentences.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, thousands of people in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Illinois have been driven from their homes by floodwaters. Many are being sheltered and fed by the Red Cross. All Americans are urged to give through their local Red Cross chapters. Your contribution of just $1 will give you a feeling of justifiable pride.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next on NBC.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American Broadcasting Company brings transcribed to its entire network one of radio's most unusual programs. Pat Novak For Hire.
Sure, I'm Pat Novak. For hire. That's what the sign out in front of my office says. Pat Novak for hire. Down on the waterfront in San Francisco, you always bite off more than you can chew. It's tough on your windpipe, but you don't go hungry. And down here, a lot of people figure it's better to be a fat guy in a graveyard than a thin guy in a stew. That way, you can be sure of a tight fit. Oh, I rent boats and do anything else that makes a sound like money. It works out all right. If your mother doesn't mind you coming home for Easter in a box. I found that out Wednesday night, about 9 o'clock. I closed the shop early, and I came home to read. It wasn't a bad book if you ever wanted to start a forest fire. It was one of those historical things, and the girl in it wandered around like a meat grinder in ribbons. I was moving along all right. She was just getting her second wind before going after the world's record when the door to my apartment opened and the place began to get kind of crowded. From where I sat, the crowd looked good. She sauntered in, moving slowly from side to side like 118 pounds of warm smoke. Her voice was all right, too. It reminded you of a furnace full of marshmallows.
Good evening.
Yeah, thanks for knocking.
I don't think you mind my coming in without warning.
No, I get the cabbage smell from next door the same way.
Does it pay to be that polite, Mr. Novak?
Saves you the trouble of saying please. What's on your mind?
That bottle in front of you. Will you pour me a drink?
No, I won't. You'll save dough if you look up a bartender.
All right. I came to use you instead of your whiskey anyway.
Let's hear.
My name is Lee Underwood. I'll give you $300 to do something for me. It'll only take an hour.
That's too much dough unless it's murder, and if it is murder, it's not enough dough.
Are you afraid?
I just don't like paid murder, I told you. When you get caught, the pain gets expensive.
If it were murder, I'd do it myself. Mr. Novak, I want you to frighten someone for me.
Why don't you hire a friend? Are they too pretty?
It's a man named Dixie Gillian. You'll find him in an office down on Fulton Street at this address. I promise nothing will happen to you.
That's what they told Benedict Arnold.
You'll be in this office until 11 tonight. I want you to go in and see him. Tell him you're from Adrian, and that he's to get out of town by tomorrow noon.
Suppose he wants to put it off.
He won't. Don't let him know who hired you. Just tell him Adrian said to leave.
Look, lady, you better go on home. For $300, I won't buy a tissue paper plot. Now tell me more or say goodbye.
There's not much more I can tell you, except there won't be any trouble. He's a rotten little beast, and I want him frightened badly.
Why?
He's been bothering my sister.
Why doesn't he bother you?
Because I bother back too fast. You want the $300, Mr. Novak?
Yeah, it's going to be a long summer. Put it on the table.
Good. And you'll need this, too.
No, you keep that. I don't want a gun.
It's empty. Don't worry. See? No shells. It's perfectly safe.
Now, look, sis, I got a nasty disposition. You can rent that for $300, but if you want more, find a gunsel.
I don't want you to be a gunsel. That's why I want you to use this gun. I know it's empty. Use it on Dixie and you'll scare fast. It's just a way to save some breath.
All right. It's your $300.
You'd better go now.
Yeah. Wait till I get a coat with you. If your doorbell rings, don't play mouse.
Oh?
Because I may look you up.
Am I too young to ask why?
Because if anything goes wrong, I'll be around looking for you. And from there on, it won't be nice. I'll dirty you up like a locker room towel.
Relax, Patsy. You'll never learn to fall in love that way.
She handed me the gun and walked out of my apartment. Seeing her leave made you feel like Frank Buck losing an argument. She walked with a nice, easy swing of a satisfied leopard. And for a small leopard, she had pretty good spots, too. Well, I put the gun in my overcoat pocket and I went down to Folsom Street. The address was down near the bridge entrance, and the street was deserted except for a couple of winos near the corner trying to buy back 1926 at $1 a jug. I stopped in front of the place. It was a machinery company, and I could see a light burning in the back. I began to walk through the place. It was so quiet you could hear a worm with whooping cough, and there were enough shadows around to keep a ghost happy for years. When I got to the office back in the corner, through the glass, I could see a man sitting at the desk. When I opened the door and walked in, he didn't seem surprised.
Come on in, mister. You're bad on noise.
Yeah?
That's right. You make too much for a thief and not enough for a customer. What do you want?
How about 10 words if you're Dixie Gillian?
Go ahead.
You better look up a timetable.
What makes you that tough?
This.
Oh. Well, you look tougher with a gun. Does it make you talk faster?
Now, look, I'm going to say it slow, mister. Pack up your roppers and get out.
Is that you talking or somebody else?
I'm just the guy with a gun. Adrian does the talking.
And he says get up.
That's right. You got the whole message now.
All right, you told me, so wander out and spend your dough.
I will.
Oh, you'll need part of it, though. Because I'm going to give you an answer for Adrian. I'm going to take that gun away from you, mister. You can pick the pieces out of your head on the way home.
You better stand back or I'll share it with you.
You got your offer, mister. Let's see you make good.
Oh, save your muscle, fella. Drop that gun. Save your muscle, fella. The gun's empty.
Somebody fooled us, mister.
Sometimes you can get a home run with a half swing. That's the way it was this time. He couldn't have made it with a prayer book in both hands. He slid down to the floor and trembled for a minute and then flattened out like a leaf in a pool of water. Just before he died, he grabbed his side as if He didn't like the way it hurt. And then he didn't care. I rolled him on his back and let him look at the ceiling. His eyes were open, and he looked surprised, like a guy who didn't figure on a change in the weather. There was a scar that ran across his forehead and dug deep into his hairline. And he was lying there with a bunch of pink gum showing, as if he was trying to pick up a few bucks with a toothpaste ad. Well, I didn't have time to tell him how sorry I was, because if homicide caught me here, I'd have about as much chance as a canary in a basement full of cats. I started for the door, but right then I knew I could start ordering birdseed. It was Hellman, and he walked over to look at the body.
Hello, Novak. The guy looks embarrassed.
Yeah, I guess he is, Hellman.
What's he doing dead?
Putting in a beef somewhere, I guess. He rates it.
He'll like you for that, Novak. How'd it happen?
A team play. We worked it out together.
But you've got the gun.
That's right. I got the gun.
Yeah. You feel like a bet?
No, just keep stealing the old way.
You know how I feel, Novak?
You feel flabby to anybody else, but to yourself, I suppose you feel good. Look, I walked in here with a gun. There was some quick fight talk, and I killed him, but it's still not a good rap.
I can get a long price on it for you, Novak.
I'll bet you can, Hellman. You can give me a bad deal, but part of the time it'll be from the other side of the deck.
Worse than that, Novak. It'll be all the time. I want to watch you, because I think you're going to be a crybaby.
I'm going to scream, if that's what you mean, Hellman. I'm going to scream about a gal that sent me in here with an empty gun.
That's a big hole for a cat pistol, Novak.
I got a last-minute curve. It was empty once.
Yeah, that's the only way they make a gun. I don't want you for an hour ago. I want you for this dead guy on the floor.
All right. I told you I didn't come in here to kill the guy. I don't know him. He may even be a good guy. I'm sorry he's dead.
All right, Novak. Just wait a few weeks. You can tell him personally.
Hellman had me up against the rail, and he knew it. When we left there, he was wearing a big, toothy smile. It was big enough to sew on his ears. He called the coroner and told him to pick up the stiff, and then we rode downtown. He dropped the gun into ballistics and hauled me into his office. The reporters were there. He gave them the whole story and told them how to spell Hellman. After that, we wound up at the desk, and he booked me on suspicion of murder. The next hour and a half was the kind of stuff they don't write about in the paper. They call it interrogation, and when you're finished, you've been through a lot of tight spots, like an atom up at Caltech. About 11 o'clock, Hellman brought me into his office, and from there on, it happened kind of fast.
I just talked to the DA. He's going to streamline things for you.
Well, he's going to look funny going to trial on a guy you can't identify.
You'll find out all about the dead guy.
You can't count his fingers without making a mistake. If you want to know who he is, talk to that girl. Her name's Lee Underwood.
We've been through all that, Novak. Now, suppose you tell me who Dixie Gillian is.
I don't know, Hellman. The girl said his name was Dixie Gillian.
I won't press you. I don't have to, Novak. I've got the only parlay I need. You, the dead guy, and a big fat murder gun.
Sure.
Yeah, Hellman talking. Yeah, I know it was a .38. They're crazy down in ballistics. I saw him standing over the dead guy. They must have made a mistake, that's all. No, I don't want him in here. I don't want him in here. Hey, Tony,
You're getting pale. You need some more rouge, Hellman.
I got some bad news, Inspector.
Well, keep it or you'll take more home to your wife. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to him now, Hellman. If that bullet doesn't match the gun, talk to him now.
That's right, Inspector. A .38 bullet, but it won't match the gun you brought in.
It's got to match. I came in and found him standing there. He's already admitted it.
It's a neat trick, then. If he fired the bullet out of that gun, he retooled it in midair.
I'm not that fast, Hellman. Come on, get out of that chair so you'll have room to squirm.
You keep still, Novak.
I won't bother you. I'm going home. I'm walking out of your jail, Hellman. You got a broken-down .38 that won't fit anything but your thumbs. You can't hold me on that.
I found you over the body. I can hold you on suspicion of murder.
Yeah, but it'll hurt tomorrow morning, Hellman. The papers will be down for a follow-up, and you'll have to tell them what it looks like out in left field.
I'll handle them.
You can't afford to let them start laughing at you. People get the idea it's your face.
You can save car fare if you stay right here, because I'll have you back by noon tomorrow.
You're not that good, Hellman. You couldn't hold a moth with a searchlight. The town ought to thank you.
What?
Oh, it's a nice jail, Hellman. With you around, it'll last for years. When I walked out of headquarters, I had a nice mess to juggle. It was like trying to walk the baby on a floor full of marbles. If things didn't add up for Hellman, they weren't going to do any better for me. I knew that gun I had went off. If it did, what happened to the bullet, and where did the other one come from? And why weren't there two shots? Well, I couldn't put my finger on a thing, and nothing added up. It was like trying to follow a grain of rice in a Shanghai suburb. So I looked up Lee Underwood's address, and I went by her apartment. The girl downstairs told me that she worked at a nightclub out on the Bay Shore Highway. Well, I had to hit a couple of places, so I looked up the only honest guy I know. An ex-doctor and a boozer by the name of Jocko Madigan. A good man until he began to figure the last drink in the bottle is just as easy to get at as the first. I found him in a little leather-trimmed sink on Powell Street. It was a grimy little hole where they washed the glasses once a week in stale beer. But Jocko was more at home than a vulture in Calcutta.
Ah, Patsy, you're just in time to celebrate my return to health. Something mild for Mr. Novak. A double stinger, perhaps.
No, forget it, Jocko. I got to talk to you.
Patsy, I've just passed through a crisis. A few minutes ago, they set before me a glass with a woman's lipstick all around the rim.
All right, Jocko.
I took one gulp and looked at the glass, and in this dim light, I thought I was bleeding to death. It took them 10 minutes and 3 mirrors to calm me down.
Jocko, I'm in trouble. You got to help me.
But they washed the glass for me in ammonia. They must have left a little ammonia in the glass because the next drink had a very odd tang about it. I've had 3 more just like it, a sort of ammonia colony.
All right.
So far, they've been using domestic ammonia. When the imported stuff comes in, I may give up whiskey altogether.
Calm down, will you, Jocko? I got a bum shake tonight.
Yes?
I either killed a guy or thought I did.
That uses up the alternatives. What are you doing now, taking a vote?
I got hired to scare a guy down on Folsom Street. 10 minutes later, the guy was dead.
Patsy, you take your work too seriously. Couldn't you have just scared him into a lingering illness instead of killing him?
One of the props was an empty gun. Only when the fight came, it grew bullets. Hellman walked in right after on a telephone tip.
What are you doing out of the gas chamber?
The whole thing backfired down at headquarters. The bullet and the phony gun wouldn't match. Oh, it doesn't add up, Jocko. That call to Hellman's a tip-off. I was framed, but why wasn't I framed all the way?
Who is the dead man?
Oh, just a guy with a falling blood count. His name was supposed to be Dixie Gillian, but there's no identification and no record on him.
You shouldn't have hired out as a gunslinger.
I told you I didn't hire out as a gunslinger. It was somebody else's idea.
You have no conscience, Patsy. It's just a sort of soap opera rule of thumb you put into practice now and then, but no real conscience. You'd let a dying woman lie in the middle of the highway unless her head was resting on a pile of savings bonds.
All right, Jocko, I'll try with you later. I need help now.
What sort of help?
I want you to break into a girl's apartment.
Yes?
Don't worry, she won't be home.
Is that supposed to be an incentive?
It's at this address here, up on O'Farrell. Her name is Lee Underwood. She's the one who hired me.
If the girl's not there, what am I supposed to find?
Anything that'll connect her with the dead man. He's a big guy with a scar.
That doesn't help much.
You can't miss. Go through the desk and drawers. Pick up everything you can, will you? And leave a message at my place.
As soon as I finish this drink.
Oh, hurry up, will you, Jocko? Leave the glass alone and get going.
Don't rush me.
Hurry up, will you? The glass is empty anyway.
Yes, that's what you thought about that gun, but the fellow got an awful jolt out of it. Good night, lover.
I went by a horse parlor on O'Farrell Street and borrowed a car from a guy. It was after midnight when I started down the Bayshore Highway, and about a half hour later, I pulled up in front of the Cat's Paw. It was a long, rambling place on the left side of the road. There was no plan. It just followed the erosion line until they ran out of material. There was enough neon in front to light a main intersection in heaven. In the lobby, I saw a picture of Lee Underwood, one of those shadowy things that was supposed to make you think she'd die in a cold climate. She was sitting at a piano with a little microphone in front of her, and you got the idea right away. She didn't have much of a voice, but plenty of songs that made your wife lean over and ask you to explain. I asked a 50-year-old busboy, and he said she was back in her dressing room getting ready for the 1 o'clock show. When I walked in, she was sitting in front of a mirror working on an upswept hairdo. If she swept it up any more, it was going to leave her head. I stood behind her, looking at the pink, fresh part of her neck that didn't show when the hair was down.
You seem fascinated, Patsy.
No, I just want to know where to break it.
Oh. Sit down on the footstool next to me.
Yeah.
That's it. I like to look down on people. Let me brush that strand of hair back. Or do you like it in your eyes?
Now brush it back so I can see your answers. Who's Dixie Gillian?
What difference does it make?
None to him and some to me. He's dead.
No, it couldn't be dead.
Yeah, well, he'd like to believe that, too. I couldn't sell him that story about an empty gun.
He couldn't have been killed with that gun.
No?
No. I put in a blank, Patsy.
Somebody used a hard-working bullet because Dixie's dead.
Well, no reason to kill him. I don't understand.
Yeah, well, that makes you even with homicide, but they got a bigger team. Now, look, I made a diagram, Angel. Up at my place, I ran over murder with you. I don't like it. If you kill people, you don't get invited out enough. So if it's you or me on this one, I'm going to push you all the way.
don't understand it, Patsy.
Who's Dixie Gillian?
He was after some microfilm. I thought I could scare him away.
You better be ready to identify him because homicide stopped. Even that scar didn't help.
What scar, Patsy?
The scar across his face, there's no record on him.
No, Patsy. Everything goes wrong. Everything you touch goes wrong. That's the wrong man, Patsy.
Yeah. Well, it's too late for a recount.
You've got to get to that body, Patsy. I don't know how, but somewhere you've got to get to him.
You look good, Lee. You make a nice picture.
Wait a minute, Dixie.
You don't need your coat. Come on.
I don't know how it happened, Dixie. I didn't mean it that way.
You like it that way, all right. Bring the boyfriend, too.
No, don't let him, Patsy.
The friend's too big. I'm going with him. It was a short trip. He led us out of the dressing room and down a thin hall to the back door. On the way past the kitchen, you could smell onions and used grease, and that's about all you noticed except the sound of a jukebox somewhere out in front and somebody laughing in a loud, mirthless way. When we got to the door, it was raining outside. We walked about 40 feet over near some trees where the dark was working overtime, and the gunsel made us stop.
Pick your spot, Lee.
You can't be that crazy, Dixie.
It's going to get wet, mister.
You'll have a little trouble yourself.
When I woke up, it was still raining. I was lying on top of the mud like a stubborn seed. My wallet was gone, and the gunsel had ripped open my pockets. I stood up and walked over for a last look at Lee. The rain had washed the makeup off her face, and she looked small and tired as she lay there, like a broken doll that had been tossed out in the rain. I guess she was. Well, I got to my car, and I drove back to town. I checked my place, but there was no word from Jocko, so I went up to Lee's apartment. When I opened the door, the room was dark, but I knew somebody was on the rug. Either that or they'd varnished the floor with bourbon. I flipped on the light and bent over Jocko. Hey. Wake up, Jocko. All right, Jocko. Come on, wake up. Come on.
A little ammonia, I think, would bring me around.
What happened?
I was sapped, I guess.
Everybody's got the same act tonight.
Help me up. Where have you been?
I went down to meet the girl.
Where'd you meet her? In a swimming pool?
I've been in the rain all night. She's going to stay longer. What'd you find out?
The fellow with the scar is her husband.
Yeah?
There's a picture in the desk.
Are there any more pictures?
A few. Take a look.
Where, in here?
Yes.
Well.
Who's he?
It must be Dixie Gillian. He was down to pay off a debt tonight. She called him Dixie once.
There's a note with that name and an address in the other drawer.
He's our boy. We better get up there.
Not if he's already killed 2 other people.
We can't wait for Hellman. If he gets away, I'm all through. I won't have a leg to stand on.
That's my point. When the other fellow gets through with us, we won't have much standing to do.
I felt better now. Gillian was the only guy left in the picture, so I dragged Jocko up to his place. It was an apartment up on Post Street. The elevator operator took us up to the 8th floor and said that Gillian had come in a few minutes before. There was no answer, so we tried the door, and it was open. Jocko didn't like the idea.
Patsy, this is folly. Risking my life is one of the bravest things you do.
Keep still, Jocko. What are we supposed to do? The door was open, wasn't it?
Saw a lot of graves, but I've never been tempted.
Hey, look at the furniture. There's been a fight in here. I'll look in here. You check in the bedroom, huh?
If I'm not right back, don't expect me at all.
All right.
Patsy.
Yeah?
Patsy, come here.
All right.
There's somebody on the fire escape.
Come here. Stand back here.
Oh, he's not moving. He was leaning that way when I first saw him.
All right, I'll get on this side. You raise the window. Now go easy, Jocko. Can you see him from there?
Raise it a little more.
All right.
He's still leaning there. I can reach out.
All right, watch yourself. If he's kidding, you'll lose an arm.
I got it. Good. Raise the window more. Okay. Patsy, he's falling. Give me a hand.
Oh, here, let me through there.
Oh, it's too late. I can't hold it.
Hang on, Jocko.
He's falling. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, he was probably dead anyway.
If he wasn't, that was a step in the right direction.
Well, it was an easy night to die. 3 of them had checked out already, and there was still time to look for more. Jocko and I went downstairs to see the guy. He was lying face down in the alley, and as you looked at him, you got the funny feeling he belonged there. He didn't disturb the scene. He just fitted in like a dirty, wet newspaper under a grandstand. There was a gun in his pocket, probably the same one that killed the girl, but there was no way of knowing. Jocko and I watched him for a minute, but your eyes begin to hurt when you see your only warm lead in a deep freeze. It was past 2 when I got down to headquarters and looked up Hellman. I briefed him on the girl and the guy in the alley, and then I asked him if any microfilm had turned up on the first guy in the morgue. That was a waste of time. Hellman couldn't find a brass ring in a dead man's nose, but we went over to the morgue for another look. So far, it was working out like a crossword puzzle torn in half.
It's your turn, Novak. I got more after tomorrow. You haven't.
The microfilm must be on the guy. 3 people have been killed for it, and I got roughed up just for laughs.
We searched the guy once. Here it is.
All right.
Help me roll it out.
Yeah. Well. He sure got thin under that sheet, didn't he?
Wait a minute.
Oh, you run a good morgue, Hellman. What'll the paper say when they hear the stiff got up and walked out?
They got him in the wrong place or something. He didn't walk out.
Well, he's gone, Hellman. You got an answer?
He's been moved, I tell you. The guy was dead, and I saw him put in here. Couldn't be walking around with a hole in the middle of his back.
I don't know, Hellman. You do it with one in your head. Don't sell the guy short. When Hellman found out the body was gone, he stood there and stared at the empty slab. And then he started looking around in a nervous way, like a man trying to find a sugar bowl at a restaurant counter. A few minutes later, he turned and walked out of the morgue, and we were halfway downtown when it happened. It must have hit us at the same time, sharp and quick, like a piece of candy in a bad tooth. The guy back in the alley had come off that slab in the morgue. We got out to Dixie's place, and we began to check. There was a phone operator downstairs, and she said that Dixie had put through a call about 2 hours ago. Hellman checked the number, and it was the ticket office of a railroad. We got downtown and ran through the timetable. There was a train leaving the Oakland Mole in about 40 minutes. Well, it was an outside chance, but tonight that was the only kind for sale. We got down in time to slide on the last ferry over to the Mole. It was still dark out when the ferry pulled away from the slip and started across the bay. But over toward the Berkeley Hills, it was beginning to get light. The sky was the color of a bruise spot on a man's arm.
We'll get up to the pallet house and tell him not to dock until we've gone through all the passengers.
He doesn't have to be on this one.
We'll check the train when we get there.
Wait a minute. You don't have to check. There's your boy.
Where?
Up there on the rail, see? Now, you better go easy, Hellman. He's not a scale model.
Yeah, just walk quietly until we're behind him.
All right.
Turn around, mister. You'll get a better view.
Hello, Novak. How was the wind and the rain in your hair?
Meet Inspector Hellman. You better turn in your ticket.
I hope you brought your muscle.
Grab him, Hellman.
That's what I'm trying to do. All right, copper. Watch it. I'm being pitched over on the rail.
I'm worried, Hellman.
Watch it, Novak. I'm going over. Oh!
That's one down, mister. Now for you.
I landed on the deck and watched him disappear into the dark. Halfway down, the guy turned in. I got up and followed him down the ladder and along the main deck. He ducked into one of the engine spaces, and I started in to look for him. It didn't take long because he turned out to be real helpful.
You got the idea yet, Novak?
I'll come closer. Tell me then.
Do it yourself. But I'll knock you down hard when you show.
What's that platform? You're backing into trouble.
Stay back there, Novak.
Watch out for that platform, will you? You're backing into the engine.
I kind of wound up last, huh?
Yeah. That's the way it looks.
Huh?
Did you get the microfilm?
Yeah. I got a big hurt. Does it show?
A little.
Yeah. It's been a long night, Novak. Huh?
Yeah. But your worries are over. It's almost dawn.
I don't know if I can use it, but I'll give it to you.
Fished Hellman out of an oil slick a few minutes later. It was the first time his hair ever looked good. Dixie Gillian lasted long enough to piece a story together for homicide. Lee Underwood knew her husband was carrying microfilm, and she was worried, so she hired me to scare off Gillian. Oh, it might have worked, too, but the first slip came when Lee's husband went by to make a deal with Dixie without telling her. When I jumped him, Dixie was outside and figured it was a double cross, so he killed him with a silencer when that phony gun that Lee gave me went off. Dixie knew that the microfilm was still on the dead man. The only way he could be sure was to get the body out of the morgue. He took it up to his apartment, and when he got the film, he planted the gun and put the body on the fire escape. It was a little safer that way. There was a 50-50 chance the police would miss it the first time around, and he'd have a fair lead. Well, almost worked out for him, except for that phone call. The microfilm was in a capsule next to the roof of the guy's mouth. So old it was new again. Well, Hellman asked only one question. In that fight, did I have anything to do with pushing him against the rail? I told him sometimes those ferry boats roll as much as 45 degrees.
The American Broadcasting Company has just brought you the 10th of a new series, Pat Novak For Hire, starring Jack Webb. Pat Novak is produced and directed by William B. Rousseau. Jocko Madigan is played by Tudor Owen. Inspector Hellman is played by Raymond Burr. Music was composed and conducted by Basil Adlam. Be with us again next week, when over most of these same ABC stations we'll bring you Pat Novak For Hire. This program came to you transcribed from Hollywood. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
To hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A 30-year-old woman is missing. 3 months pass before her disappearance is reported. There's not a trace of the woman. No lead to her whereabouts. Your job? Find her. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
That's right. Fatimas are different. They taste better.
Yet king-size Fatima costs no more than the cigarette you're now smoking. And because of its quality, more smokers are now insisting on Fatima than ever before. You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma. So compare Fatima yourself today. You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Remember, the cost of Fatima is the same as the cigarette you're now smoking.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality. Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, From crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, June 9th. It was warm in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the stats office, and it was 10:18 a.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Hi, Joe. Been waiting for you.
Hi.
Ma'am, I'd like to have you meet my partner, Sergeant Friday. Joe, this is Miss Daly, Ruth Daly.
How do you do?
How are you,
Miss Daly came in to file a missing report on her sister, Joe. She already talked to missing persons, and they sent her in to see us. Oh, have a chair, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well, what's it all about, miss?
I just started to tell Sergeant Ramirez
That's
here.
Romero, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Romero. Well, it's about my sister Bernice, Sergeant. She's missing. I wondered if maybe you people could help me find her.
Well, what's your sister's name?
Bernice. I guess you want her married name, Mrs. James Butler. Her description will be just about the way I look. Bernice and I are twins.
Mm-hmm. When did your sister disappear, ma'am?
In March. The first weekend in March. She disappeared on a Saturday.
Well, that's 3 months ago, Miss Daly. How is it this wasn't reported sooner?
Well, as a matter of fact, I halfway expected her husband to report it. I talked to him about it when Bernice was gone 2 weeks. He didn't seem too worried.
Is there any reason for him not to worry?
Well, there is no way. You see, Bernice has gone off before, about a year ago. She picked up and went to Arizona without telling anybody. When she came back, she said she just wanted to get away for a while. She didn't want to be around here.
Well, how long did she stay away that time?
Almost a month.
Well, how about your sister's married life? She get along with her husband all right?
Well, first 5 years they were married, it worked all right. Then it sort of turned sour. I don't know what happened. They used to be happy.
Well, what was the trouble, do you know?
That's the funny part. I don't. Wouldn't even know who to blame for it, Jimmy or Bernice. Both of them started drinking a lot, pretty heavy. Seemed to me around that time Jimmy began to get a little funny.
I see. Has he ever been violent towards your sister, Miss Daly? I mean, has he struck her or anything like that?
Oh, no. Really, Jimmy's kind of a milquetoast character. Timid, skinny. Most of the time afraid to say boo. Yesterday I went over to the house to visit Jimmy. I tried to make conversation. He just sat in his chair reading a book. Every time I mentioned Bernice, he'd kind of look up and growl at me.
Mm-hmm.
I got sick of it. I put on my coat and started for the door. He followed me.
Mm-hmm. Did he say anything at all?
Yes. When I opened the door, I turned around to say goodbye.
Yeah?
He had this real horrible look on his face. He said it right out loud, plain as day.
What's that?
He said, "You'd be surprised if I killed her, wouldn't you? You'd be surprised."
10:40 a.m. We finished taking a complete statement from Ruth Daly regarding the disappearance of her married sister, Bernice Butler. Before she left, we got the business address of her brother-in-law. A broadcast and a missing bulletin was gotten out, and then Ben and I drove cross town to have a talk with the husband of the missing woman, James Butler. We located him at work in a job printing shop on South Vermont, where he was employed as a journeyman printer. He was in his early 30s, thin, blonde hair, light complexion, about 5'7", 125 pounds. He wore a pair of rimless glasses. Ben and I introduced ourselves and began to interview him. He was close-mouthed and not too cooperative. He seemed to resent every question we asked him. While we talked, he worked over a paper-cutting machine.
You'll have to admit it's a little out of the ordinary, Mr. Butler. Your wife missing 3 months, and you acting like you've been gone 3 hours. Did you hear me, Butler?
I heard you.
Well, what about it?
Just a minute. Well? How do you know it's not ordinary you're going away? I'm married to her. I know my own wife.
We talked to your wife's sister this morning, Ruth Daly. She seems to think you might know all about your wife disappearing.
She does?
That's right.
In my way, I got to get that other set of cards.
Oh, yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. There's something wrong with him.
Sure got a big grudge for somebody his size.
I wonder what that girl meant when she called him bashful.
Yeah, about as bashful as a wild boar in a plum thicket.
In my way, I got to get in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't got any spare time to talk. I have to get this order out.
It'll only take a few minutes if you'll be good enough to cooperate.
Haven't got the time, that's all.
It's almost your lunch hour, isn't it? Suppose we can talk then?
Got no time then either. Why don't you talk to Ruth? She seems to know.
Now, listen, that's about enough of this, mister. We ask you civil questions, we expect civil answers. If you think this isn't important, change your mind. Your wife's been gone for 3 months. Nobody's seen or heard from her, and it's our job to check it. Now, you can talk to us here or downtown. You take your pick.
Have to finish up this batch first. We can talk out in the alley and back. I want everybody knowing my business.
That's fine with us. You do what you have to do. We'll wait for you.
Sure is aching for an argument, huh?
Yeah, I wonder what his big trouble is.
Maybe a hangover. Looks a little used up.
Yeah, could be.
If he had something to do with his wife's disappearing, you'd think he'd try to cover the way he's acting. He doesn't seem to care what you think.
Now, let's see what kind of a story he's got.
Okay, it's this way, out back.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, what's the big deal?
You ever been arrested, Butler?
Nope. Almost a couple of times. They couldn't get me.
What kind of trouble were you in?
They said they didn't get me. I'm not going to put myself in hot water.
We'd like to find out how your wife was before she disappeared. Do you know of any reason why she'd go off the way she did? Any reason why she'd stay away 3 months without any word?
No, I don't know any reason.
Well, how about your relatives, your friends? You checked to see if she might be with one of them?
They'd call if she was.
You never checked with them?
No. Think Ruth did.
You have any big arguments with your wife, Butler? A lot of times she disappeared, I mean?
We had them all the time. She bothered me. She was too fresh. I beat it out of her.
That's so.
You got to. Give him a little freedom. They think he can take over. Nag him, tell you what to do, what not to do. Sick of it.
We'd like a straight answer here, Butler. Did you want your wife out of the way?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, do you know why she's missing?
Could be a lot of reasons. Might know one.
Did you kill your wife, Butler?
It'd be silly to tell you that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Did you kill her?
Only one way I'll say yes to that.
Yeah?
When you prove it.
Well, it wasn't easy to understand. From the way it started, our interview with James Butler would get us nothing. We had no evidence against him, nothing to indicate definitely that his wife had met foul play, nothing but a suspicious remark he was supposed to have made to his sister-in-law, Ruth Daly. But once we'd left the print shop and got out in the back alley where he couldn't be overheard, he was full of information. Besides telling us that he beat his wife, Butler also admitted that he'd threatened her life on several occasions, twice in the presence of friends. He seemed to take some kind of a peculiar pride in admitting how violent he'd been with his wife. Ben and I took him downtown, questioned him further, and listened to him talk. He made veiled hints that he'd been involved in various criminal activities in this country and also in Europe, that he was a close friend with a half a dozen notorious underworld gang leaders, that he was ruthless and clever enough to dispose of his wife if he wanted to and still avoid prosecution. While we were talking, Ben had James Butler's name and description double-checked through the Record Bureau file. There was no previous criminal record listed for him. As far as we knew, at no time had he even been held under suspicion in a criminal investigation. The next day, together with Brian and Lopez from Homicide, Ben and I made the rounds of Mr. and Miss Butler's friends, relatives, and neighbors. 4:25 p.m. We got back to the office.
Oh, hi, Lopez.
Hi, Ben, Joe. What's doing?
Nothing great. How'd you two make out?
Yeah, it's a funny setup to me. I'd say the guy's a phony. Everybody we talk to, everybody who knows Butler, they all say the same thing.
What's that?
Guy's afraid of his own shadow. He's a milquetoast. Nothing to him. And what'd you get?
Well, about the same. Every housewife around the neighborhood out where they live, they all told us the same thing. The guy's a henpecked husband. His wife laid down the laws, and he follows them.
Psycho case, huh? Must be.
Don't know how else to explain it. Every time I asked one of their friends if Butler beat up his wife, they laughed in my face. Said he wouldn't even dare cash his check on payday. Had to bring it home. If anybody got beat up, it must have been him.
Yeah, he sure tells a great story. He can make you believe he was a bluebeard.
Did you get any different answers at all, Lopez?
Yeah, one maybe. Yeah, let me take a look. Let's see. Here. Mrs. Irene Brady. She's an aunt of Mrs. Butler.
Uh-huh.
She said the same thing about Butler, about him being a real mouse and all. And she told us about the dizzy things he'd been doing the last couple of years.
Yeah, what was that?
Well, 4 or 5 times she said he just went out looking for trouble, go in a neighborhood bar, insult some big stevedore, he'd get his face pushed in. He always picked big guys. Didn't seem to mind getting beat up as long as he could insult them.
Not much doubt, I guess. The guy's ready for the nut for him.
Well, apparently he's got a big beef with people who push him around. Maybe he figured if he could take care of just one of those people, he could even up the score.
How do you mean, Joe?
Well, Mrs. Butler, the wife, she's probably the one who gave him the worst time. If he's a little bit off mentally, that'd make him capable of murder, wouldn't it?
Could be, yeah. Maybe the wife poured it on real strong, drove him to it.
Crazy as a coot, that guy. Too many movies, mystery books.
I got it. Homicide, Romero. Oh, yes, ma'am. How's that? When was that? Yes, ma'am. Yes, as soon as we can. Bye. That does it.
What's that?
That was his sister-in-law, Ruth Daly. Just told me she's positive Butler murdered his wife.
What makes you think so?
Number one, she says Butler told her so. He admitted it to her last night.
Well, it doesn't hold any more water than the rest of his stories.
I don't know. The Daly girl says she's positive she's got the evidence to prove it.
What's that?
A murder weapon. Bloodstains all over it.
4:45 p.m. Ben and I got in the car and drove out to the home of Mr. and Mrs. Butler, where we found the missing woman's sister waiting for us on the front stairs. She told us she'd been doing some kind of checking of her own through the house that afternoon. In going over the attic, she said she'd found a claw hammer hidden under a loose board in the attic floor. She said the hammer was covered with what appeared to be dried blood stains. She took us inside, up the stairs, to the attic.
Careful of the steps, officers. It's an old house getting ready to fall apart.
Yeah. Watch the step here, Joe.
Yeah, I'm all right. Go ahead.
Light's good and bright. That's how I happen to see the loose boards over here.
Mm-hmm. Did you pick up the hammer, Miss Daly?
No. I started to, but then I remembered about fingerprints and things. Just where I found it. Didn't touch it.
Hey, you want a pencil, Joe? Maybe you can get it from the claw there?
No, I think we can see it right where it is.
Let's see. Could be, huh? Blood stain?
Well, it sure looks like it. On the handle here, all over the head of the hammer.
I knew it. I knew there was something wrong the day she disappeared.
Hey, look at this, Joe. I just noticed. These stains on the floor. Whole trail of them, see? Lead right for the door.
We better get the crime lab on and have Lee Jones run a benzidine test on him. What time does he usually get home from work, Miss Daly, your brother-in-law?
About 6 o'clock. Don't know about today, though.
How do you mean? Does he work late on Tuesday?
No, but I wanted to make sure he wouldn't be home when I came over today. I called the print shop where he works. He's not there. Called again this afternoon. Jimmy hasn't been seen since last night.
Is he in the habit of skipping work?
No, he never does. I called every one of his friends I know of. Bernice's friends, too. I called them. The places he hangs around, nobody's seen him. Not since last night, since you talked to him.
And you got no idea where he might be?
No. Just like Bernice. He disappeared.
You're in the statistician's office of a Metropolitan Police Department.
Have you made the run on this one? WMA, 5'7", 160 pounds. Suspect is left-handed, operates on foot.
We punched up the master. The cards are in the machine. We'll make the run now.
Okay, fine.
There are many suspects to choose from. You're looking for one.
Thank you. Yeah, this is the one we want.
When you have a choice to make, you want to be sure. And you can be sure of Fatima quality. That's why we ask you to compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
Side by side, Fatimas are the same in length and circumference. 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as other king-size cigarettes.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima gives long cigarette smokers all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. Next time, insist on the best. Buy Fatima. Best of all king-size cigarettes.
Tuesday, June 10th, 5:20 p.m. Ben got on the phone and called around town to check further on the whereabouts of James Butler, the husband of the missing woman. No luck. We called the office, and they got out a broadcast and an APB on Butler. We drove downtown to the crime lab, gave him the claw hammer that we found in the Butler's attic, and asked him to run a benzidine test on the stains. We'd also made arrangements for Lee Jones to run similar tests on the stains we'd found on the floor of the attic. 3 days passed. Butler was gone. There was no sign of him. The search was intensified. Another 3 days went by. Monday, June 16th, we got an answer on the APB. A phone call from the chief of police in Tulare, California.
Yeah, James Michael Butler, WMA, 33 years, 5'7", 128 pounds. Blonde hair, hazel eyes. Hey, you got a North Hancock Street address down there, that right?
Yeah, that sounds like the man we're looking for.
He's a real weird one, Friday. Caused a little trouble at one of the taverns up here last night. Kept picking fights with the biggest truck drivers he could find. We locked him up after his third fight. He had her jailed in an uproar all night. Wild one.
What'd he do?
All shouting all over the place. Couldn't do anything with him.
Uh-huh.
Keeps telling everybody how smart he is.
Yeah?
Says he killed his wife, but nobody's ever going to find out.
James Butler was returned to Los Angeles, where he underwent further interrogation in addition to a psychiatric test. The test showed that he was definitely abnormal, but he was still judgmentally competent. The crime lab's tests on the bloodstains found on the hammer and on the floor of the attic in the Butler's home revealed that the stains were made by animal blood, not human. We questioned Butler about it, but we failed to get him to even admit he knew anything about the stains. He was released from custody, but he was kept under surveillance. A week passed. 2 weeks. Nothing developed. Still no sign of the missing woman, Bernice Butler. Still no definite sign of foul play in connection with her disappearance. No definite sign that her husband was criminally involved in any way. Considering all the angles of the case, we were still inclined to figure that he fitted in somewhere. He had some direct hand in his wife's disappearance. We stayed on it. Nothing happened. On June 26th, the twin sister of the missing woman, Ruth Daly, met Ben and I at the office and laid out a plan she had in mind. She insisted we try it.
You mean you want to work on his emotional nature and try to get some kind of an admission out of him? Is that the whole idea?
That's it, Sergeant. I know what a nut he is about being dramatic. I know it'll work.
Well, it's possible, yeah. How do you figure to set it up?
It won't be very hard. For one thing, you know my sister Bernice and I look quite a bit alike. People always take us for one another.
Yeah.
You can get Jimmy out of the house at night for some reason or other. I'll slip in and go upstairs and put on one of the dresses Bernice used to wear all the time. I'll sit there in the upstairs bedroom with just the hall light on. Just enough light so we can see me when you bring him upstairs. I'll even bring over Bernice's pet cat she had, Siamese. He always hated the cat.
I don't know, ma'am. I'm not quite sure about it.
Well, it might be worth a chance. It's not too orthodox, but maybe it'll work.
If I know Jimmy, it'll work, Sergeant. If you can just warm him up to it ahead of time before you bring him upstairs. When he sees me sitting in that room with a cat, I know he'll think it's Bernice. We're bound to get some kind of reaction. That's better than we're doing.
Yeah? Ben, what do you think?
Sounds like a movie script. I don't know. It's like she says, I guess. We're bound to get a reaction.
I know it'll work. I'm sure of it.
Joe?
All right, let's give it a try. The following night, a few minutes before 8 o'clock, Ben and I got James Butler away from his house on the pretext of taking him downtown for further interrogation. We delayed long enough to make sure that Ruth Daly, the sister of the missing woman, had plenty of time to get into the house, change her clothes, and take her place in the upstairs room with her sister's pet Siamese cat. Then we started back for the house. We'd made arrangements to have Brian and Lopez from Homicide standing by, concealed in the immediate vicinity of the house in case they were needed. 11:05 p.m. While we drove him back toward his home, Butler was talkative, but not too relaxed. It was the same line we'd heard before, how tough he could be when he wanted to, the same hints that he was an undiscovered killer, one of the more talented professionals in the deadly circles of the underworld.
I came from Illinois originally, Cicero. You guys know how it is back there. You have to stay right up on your toes.
Yeah. How long you been out here now, Butler?
You expect me to tell you that? I'm wise the way you guys work. You're not going to get me on questions like that one.
I understand you do quite a bit of reading, Jim. You come across anything good lately?
Nah, nothing lately. All the good books, they've already been written. Edgar Allan Poe, Stevenson, De Maupassant, Gogol. They know how to tell a good murder story. These new guys are a waste of time. Reading, that's all reading. That's what I like to do. Not that modern junk, only the best. You take some of Poe and Stevenson, for instance. I know those guys.
That's so.
Sure, I know their stuff well enough to tell you. I got whole pages memorized. How'd you like to hear some? Stevenson made it.
All right, go ahead.
I have to belie my nature. All men do. All men are better than this disguise that grows about and stifles them. You see, each dragged away by life like one whom bravos have seized and muffled in a cloak. If they had their own control, if you could see their faces, they would be altogether different. They would shine out for heroes and for saints. I am worse than most. Myself is more overlaid. My excuse is known to me and to God. But had I the time, I could disclose myself. That's out of Stevenson, you know. Pretty smart fellow, huh?
Yeah, sure is. You got a pretty good memory.
I read those books all the time. Nothing better. Is the house all right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, maybe I'll see you later, huh? Thanks for the ride.
Well, I'll tell you, we'd like to come in the house with you if you don't mind, Butler. One or two things we'd like to check over, if that's all right with you.
It's all right, sure. Guess you ought to know by this time, huh? Nothing I'd hide in that house that you'd ever want to find. Come on, let's go.
Sure dark out, isn't it? A little bit chilly.
Yeah. What do you want to check over in the house?
Oh, just one or two things. Just routine, Jim. We won't keep you long.
Guess I ought to be a little burned at you cops by now, huh? Getting all this rousting. How about laying off pretty soon? Maybe I am getting a little burned. If you can prove something on old Jimmy Butler, prove it. If you can't do it, let him alone.
Mm-hmm. We're just tying up a few loose ends here, Jim. There's nothing to get excited about. What's the matter? Did you get your front door key?
I got it. My business, you learn not to forget anything. Can't afford to forget.
Yeah, quite a big place you got, Butler. You stay here all by yourself?
That's the way I like it, by myself. If you want to look at anything, you can look now. When you're through, I got some bourbon in the cellar. I keep a big booze cellar, you know. All first-rate stuff. What's the matter?
Oh, nothing, Jim. Thought I heard a cat someplace, did you?
No cats in this house. What do you mean you heard a cat? I hate the lousy things. I wouldn't have one.
Didn't you tell us once your wife had a cat? I think it was you. You didn't like it much, did you?
Killed the lousy thing. Got an axe and killed it. Dumb wife of mine used to drive me crazy with it. Cat hair all over the place. You know how it is. Got an axe and killed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There it is. I thought I heard it. Guess you got another one, huh, Butler?
I'll get rid of that thing. I'll find him and get rid of him right now. Upstairs.
I suppose the house makes you think of your wife quite a bit, doesn't it, Jim?
What?
Well, I mean, you spent so much time in it together, you and Bernice. It's got quite a few memories for you, I guess, huh?
Find that thing if it takes all night. I'll get the axe and I'll find the thing.
It's up here, all right. Maybe down the hall there.
Bernice's room. She had the cat. What's it doing here? There's no reason for it.
Could have wandered back in.
Can't we get more light in this hallway? I can't see anything. Cat could be anywhere. What's it doing here alone? The cat was always with Bernice, never left it.
Oh, sounds to me like it's just around here, maybe through that door there. You think?
Bernice's room. I killed the lousy cat. He couldn't be in there.
Oh, maybe it's just a cat out in the street, out in the side alley, maybe, huh?
Mm-hmm. Probably not even in the house. Take a look in her room here. No. No, it ain't real. She's not there. She's not there.
Don't hurt the cat. Not the poor cat, Jimmy. Don't kill him. Not both of us. Don't kill the cat, please. Don't kill two of us.
You go away. You go away. You're not there. It's a fake. You're not there, Bernice.
Please, Jimmy. Not both of us. Don't kill both of us.
Some kind of a trick. Now, you go away, Bernice. You're dead and I killed you. You're downstairs. You're in the ground. You're deep in the ground. I killed you. You can't be sitting here.
Please, Jimmy. Please.
All right, Butler. Come here.
No. Get away. You get away from me. She's downstairs. She's in the ground. I'll show you. You can't trick me. I'll show you.
Grab him, Ben. Grab him. I can't.
Dear God.
Come on, Ben. Downstairs.
Yeah. I tried to grab him. Tried to. He broke away. Yeah.
Lopey. Here, Joe. Here.
Did you see it, Lopey?
Yeah. Good drop from the window. He came fast. Yeah. Not too pretty, huh?
Must be something, huh? How about getting a doctor?
Yeah, he lost the doctors when he hit that sidewalk. Only one thing left, I know.
Yeah?
Call a priest.
In his suicide leap from the top story of his house, James Butler died instantly on the pavement below. Afterwards, when the reports were made out and the deputy coroner removed the body, a special detail of men was sent out to help probe the grounds around the Butler home and also the ground directly beneath the house. The search was thorough. The ground was dug up foot by foot. We found nothing. Butler's last admission before his death that he'd killed his wife and buried her in the grounds adjoining the house seemed to be as empty and worthless as some of the other stories that he told us. The painstaking search for the body of James Butler's wife went on. We found nothing. Alive or dead, there was still no trace of her. Butler's friends and relatives held a modest funeral for him, and he was buried in a small cemetery south of the city. In Missing Persons Bureau, there were still no leads on the case of Bernice Butler. It was still open. Summer finally got to an end. The fall season came and went, and then Christmas and the holidays, and then back into January and February. On a rainy morning early in March, almost a year to the very day when the case started, we got a communication from San Francisco. It had come to the notice of the police through the county health department.
In regard to your APB of June so-and-so last year, this is to inform you that Mrs. Bernice Butler has been a patient in the tubercular ward, County Hospital, San Francisco, since June 16th of last year. Apparently, her case was considered critical from the day she was admitted to the hospital. Last Thursday, she succumbed to the illness. Identification was established, next of kin notified, but no one claimed the body. She was buried at county expense. I trust this may aid you in establishing facts pertinent to her disappearance. Well, how about that?
It doesn't figure, does it?
Sooner or later you get them all. How would you figure out that night we had Butler at the house? I mean, we had his sister-in-law in there and he thought he saw his wife?
Oh, who knows? Suppose he really had himself talked into it. He thought he committed 100% murder. Guess he thought about it long enough till he convinced himself. Must have worked out something like that inside his mind.
Mm-hmm. Imagine he lived right through it. Figured he really killed her. When it came for the punishment, he's ready to buy that. There wasn't any way out, so he jumped.
Mixed up kind of yet, huh?
That's too bad. All things considered, I guess he loved her quite a bit.
Well, it doesn't seem to matter now what he did. Wasn't much of a chance either way.
How do you mean?
Well, the girl, TB on one side, maybe murder on the other.
Yeah.
Either way, she had to die.
The story you've just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On March 9th, a meeting was held in the office of Captain of Homicide, Police Department, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that meeting.
And now here's our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, we've spent about 2 of the past 30 minutes telling you why so many smokers coast to coast have switched to king-size Fatima. And they really have. Just listen to some of these brand-new sales figures. I'll give you a few of them state by state, alphabetically, just as they're listed here. Fatima sales up 92%, up 72%, up 107%, up 192%, up 69%. And so it goes, up and up. Thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers are changing to Fatima. And there's a reason. Fatimas cost no more than the cigarettes you're now smoking. They filter the smoke exactly the same long distance as other king-size cigarettes. Yet there's a big difference. Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. Buy them tomorrow in the golden yellow package. Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes.
After locating Mrs. Bernice Butler in the tubercular ward in San Francisco County Hospital, final disposition was made of her case. Her late husband, James Butler, was cleared of any connection with her disappearance. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next on NBC.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape. Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure. Escape, brought to you by your Richfield gasoline dealer and the Richfield Oil Corporation of New York. Marketers of Richfield gasolines with Xylene, Rich Lube, all-weather motor oil, and other famous petroleum products. Look for the Richfield Eagle on the cream and blue pumps.
Tonight, we escape to India, and the story of a man trapped in his bed by a crate, the most deadly, poisonous snake in the world, as Roald Dahl tells it in his terrifying story, Poison.
Listen, it's an awful good story, but to get the point, you got to understand about 2 things. What kind of a guy Harry Pope was and what kind of a snake the crate is. First, the crate. You spell it K-R-A-I-T. They're in India, the crates are. Little snakes, sometimes not more than 3 or 4 inches long. You have to look real careful if you're going to see one at all. Really almost like a worm. Except that it's the most poisonous snake in the world. It can bite faster than a bumblebee, and when it does, you go up like a firecracker, swell up like a hot water bottle, and in fly the angels. Crate. Tiny little snake. Now about Harry Pope. Funny guy. He had it in for anybody who wasn't American, who didn't speak his language. He called them foreigners. He called them that army word, gook. Didn't matter if they were French, Italian, or Japanese. Gook. Foreigner, he'd say. kind of buggy on the subject. Funny guy. Well, Harry and me, we got sent out to Bombay on this construction job, and that's where the trouble started. You see, except for the two of us, the crew was made up of local boys, Hindus and Muslims, 40 of them. Harry was like a cat in a room full of dogs, had his back up every minute. After a month or so, it began to wear him out. Got so his appetite wasn't right. He was smoking 3 and 4 packs a day, and he wasn't getting his sleep. I used to try to straighten him out. Used to tell him he was wrong.
No, Woody, there's no use talking to you.
Listen, Harry, they're all good boys. Why don't you take it easy?
Woody, you and I are good friends, but there are a lot of things you just don't understand.
You ought to take it easy, Harry. They're all human beings, just like you and me.
They're gooks, Woody. Foreigners. Look, think about it this way. How'd you like your sister to marry one of them?
I haven't got a sister, and anyway, you've asked me that before.
Yeah, you see? You won't even make the effort to understand.
Well, that's how it was with Harry, and you know about the crate. Now about what happened. It was June of last year. It was hot and sticky, even though the sun was down. I was putting on a clean shirt to go out.
Oh, man, I'm really beat tonight. What's with you, Woody? What's the clean shirt for?
Going out.
What do you got, a date?
No, I thought I'd stop off at Dr. Ganderby's. He promised he'd show me the photos he made down in the leper colony.
Ganderby?
Yeah. These photos are supposed to be pretty interesting stuff. Well, how about it, Harry? Would you like to come along?
Ganderby? He's a Hindu. A gook. Foreigner. I don't want to spend no evening with a gook. Shoot, not old Harry.
So I went off to the doctor's, and Harry went to bed with the detective story. I had a very interesting evening. Later, old Harry was plenty sorry that he stayed home. I didn't leave the doctor's until around midnight, and when I drove back through the sleeping city, it was very quiet and dark. I thought about the pictures of the lepers I'd seen. I remember thinking, I hope Harry's awake, because I'd like to tell him about those pictures. And when I got home, I was glad to see the light in his room was still burning.
Harry, you up?
I didn't get an answer. Probably fell asleep reading.
Harry, you awake, Harry? Woody.
Harry, boy, what's the matter, kid?
Stop, Woody. Take off your shoes.
I couldn't tell what was the matter, but I knew he was serious, whatever it was about, so I did what he wanted. He was in bed, under his netting, with a reading light on, his book on the floor. He lay quite still, and the sheet came halfway up his chest. He was wearing those corny pajamas of his with the big checks all over them. And the pajamas were soaked in the sweat that was rolling off his face. He lay like a corpse, flat on his back, with his hands lying dead on the bed. His hands, even the backs of them, were sweating. His eyes looked like he was watching somebody saw his leg off. Woody, what's the matter, boy?
It's a crate.
Crate? Where?
For Mary's sake.
Where? Where's the crate?
In here.
Under the netting?
No. Under the sheet.
Where'd it bite you?
It hasn't. Yet.
Where under the sheet?
Right on my belly.
Holy son.
You can wake it up if you don't cut out that belly.
How'd it get in there?
I don't know. Came up under the netting, I guess. Or it's been in the bed all day.
Is it a big one?
No. It don't have to be big. Looked about 3 or 4 inches. Come along my side. I didn't move. It went under the sheet. One of them folds. One of them wrinkles there over my belly.
How long ago did it come?
Hours. Hours and hours and days and weeks. Woody, I've been waiting a year for you to get home.
You must be sleeping in here, huh?
Yeah. I think it is.
All right, now listen, Harry. Maybe it'll wake up and go away. Go home or something, huh?
I can't wait, Woody. I've been lying here scared I'd move something and wake it up.
Yeah, you're scared and it'll bite.
I've been lying here scared to death I'd cough.
All right, don't you worry about a thing, Harry. I know just what to do.
Where you going, Woody? Don't leave me.
The thing was to be ready to cauterize the bite right away. I'd heard about one method. I went out to the kitchen. I got a whole fistful of those big kitchen matches, and I took them back to the bedroom. Arranged them all with the heads together. Held them like you'd hold a torch.
What are you going to do? What are the matches for?
Now listen, Harry, here's how it goes. These will cauterize, see? So we count 3, flip back the sheet, and you jump out of bed. Now you follow me?
You're out of your
No, listen, Harry. If the crate bites you, I strike the bundle and press it against the spot, and it burns out the poison, see? Well, the matches...
Get away from me. You're a bubble-headed maniac.
No, Harry, I'm only trying to...
Listen, we'll take them matches and your bright ideas and get the heck out of here. Call the doctor.
The doctor? I never thought of that.
Now get to it.
Okay, Harry. Who do you want? Ganderby or Forsyth?
Forsyth. Things are bad enough without you. Got to bring that gook in here.
I dug through the telephone book and I found Dr. Matson B. Forsyth's number and I dialed it.
This is the residence of the Dr. Matson B. Forsyth, please.
Yeah, let me speak to the doctor. It's very urgent.
Who is calling, please?
Arthur Woods.
Who?
Woods. Arthur Woods.
Spell, please.
Woods. W.
W.
O.
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 You have already said O. I have already written O. Have the kindness to give me the next letter, please.
O. It's O after O.
Please?
Look, my name is Woods.
Spell, please.
W. O. O. D.
W. O. O. Aha!
D. S. Woods.
Wood. W. O. O. D. S. Mr. Wood.
That's right. That's just right now. Let me speak to the doctor, please.
Sorry. Doctor not in. Call tomorrow.
Across the room, Harry lay very still, sweating, trying to keep every muscle relaxed. His face was beginning to twitch a little. I was scared. If that twitch should spread. I called the doctor's house again.
Please, I do not understand.
Look, I said if you don't tell me where the doctor is, I'm going to come over there and pull your arms off, and then I'm going to take you by the neck.
The doctor is at the club, please.
What club?
The country club. Ring 673.
Harry lay very still, fighting the twitches, trying to keep from jumping out of his skin, while I waited for the bartender at the club to locate Dr. Forsyth. After about 5 minutes and nothing, I got this.
Are you there?
Listen, Doctor, you got to get over here right away. This is Arthur Woods, and my partner. He's got a snake in the bed with him. Doctor?
Would you mind repeating that, old boy?
I said snake. He's got a snake in the bed with him.
Snake? Oh, Joey. I say, who is this? This is Captain Smart speaking.
Please, Doctor, you got to get over here right away. It's urgent.
Smart, you can't. You don't fool me enough for an instant, you don't.
Oh, please, Doctor.
Snake in bed.
Listen, is this Dr. Forsyth speaking?
Yeah, of course not. It's Colonel Harcourt.
Oh, well, let me speak to the doctor, please.
Oh, but you can't, old fellow.
Why not?
Why, he's jolly well passed out, don't you know?
Passed out.
Like a mackerel. Snake in the...
Listen, Harry, you got to forget all this prejudice stuff. Ganderby's your only chance.
No, he's a gook.
He went to Oxford, Harry.
He's a gook.
It's him or the Undertaker.
He's a gook.
I'm going to call him, Harry.
All right. Go ahead, call him. But he's a gook.
I called him. When I mentioned crate, he was quiet for a good 10 seconds, and then he said he'd be right over. And he was within 5 minutes. He was wearing felt slippers, and he moved silently into the bedroom. He was carrying his black satchel, and when I saw the lamplight glinting softly in his steel-rimmed spectacles, saw his wise, gentle eyes, his bald brown head, I thought to myself, why, he looks just like Mahatma Gandhi. He looked silently at Harry and smiled encouragingly. Harry looked at him, looked at me, and looked away.
Now, first we must very carefully remove the netting from about the bed. Mr. Pope, I want you to pay no attention to us. You are to concentrate on being very quiet, on letting the little snake sleep. It is a very little snake, and it is very tired. You must tell yourself this, and you must believe it is necessary for it to sleep.
Yeah.
Mr. Wood, help me lift the netting. Very slowly. Up. Good.
What are you going to do for me?
Think about the little snake.
What do you think I'm thinking about? What are you going to do for me?
The snake. It is here?
It's in one of those folds over his abdomen, Doctor.
Now we all know where it is.
Pretend you are the Mother of the little snake, you are keeping it warm. It is sleeping. That is good.
Just Susan, don't wake up and want breakfast.
You joke? That is good.
I wish I was back home in the good old USA.
Now then, what are you going to do, Doctor? I have a serum here. You will inject it into the blood of Mr. Pope. Then, as he puts it, the little snake made breakfast to his heart's content without harm to Mama.
His hands were brown and slender and astonishingly deft. He poked the hypodermic into a capsule of thick yellowish stuff, the serum, and then with infinite care he drew the plunger slowly and steadily upward. The glistening chamber filled. He withdrew the needle, laid the hypodermic down, and then with all the gentleness in the world, he began to fold back Harry's sleeve. It was as though he were folding rare old lace. He inched the sleeve carefully, under, and up Harry's arm until the vein came into view.
I'm going to fasten a tourniquet on your arm now. It will be just above the elbow. Do not move your arm. Do not twitch your muscle.
Gently he tightened the rubber tourniquet, and Harry's arm began to flush dark. The vein began to swell blue and tight. Harry kept his eyes on the table.
Now I'm going to insert the needle in the vein. You must not react. By that I mean you must not change your abdominal muscles. Believe me, Mr. Pope, this will not hurt.
Very carefully he placed the syringe almost flat against the arm, slid the needle in sideways through the skin and into the blue vein. Slid it slowly, but so firmly that it went in smooth as a knife going into a cheese.
Doc, shh. You're good, aren't you, Doc?
You must believe that.
You're gonna let me die, are you, Doc?
I'm your friend. You must believe that.
Are you, Doc? You won't let me die?
No, I will not let you die. Now, be still and think about that.
All the care in the world as he had pushed the needle into the vein, now he pressed the plunger down, pressed the serum through the needle and into Harry Pope's body. I watched Harry. His eyes were on the wise, gentle face of Dr. Ganderby. His eyes wanted desperately to believe what Ganderby had told him. Now the hypodermic was empty, and slowly it was withdrawn. And then slowly the deft, graceful little hands loosened the rubber tourniquet. And then Ganderby looked up, met Harry's eyes and smiled. Harry tried to smile back, but the smile jumped and twitched and died.
You're taking care of me, huh, Doc?
Yes, my son. Now you must be still while the serum is pumped through your body. Be very still and be very assured. I'm your friend. The serum will save you. You will escape harm.
He beckoned to me, and I followed him out of the room and out onto the dark porch. The air was heavy and hot. Ganderby stared out at the blackness, drummed his fingers softly on the railing.
Your friend is in grave danger.
Yeah, but the serum. You gave him the serum.
I gave him the serum.
It isn't any good.
It is the finest known to medical science, and it is worthless.
To most of us, science is something strange and mysterious. We think of magic medicines and supersonic planes. But here's a scientific achievement that's as real as your car and as near as your Richfield dealer. It's xylene, one of the highest anammox gasoline components ever discovered by scientific research. And xylene can benefit you today, because every gallon of Richfield gasoline now contains xylene. Xylene to give your car that smooth, knockless power that eats up the miles. Xylene for that swift, eager response you need in traffic. Furthermore, there's a Richfield gasoline to fit your motor. Your Richfield dealer offers 2 great Richfield gasolines, both with xylene. Get Richfield High Octane at regular price for the average motor. Or Richfield Ethyl. Ethyl at its best for top results in highest compression motors. Get Richfield gasoline tomorrow. Stop where you see the Richfield Eagle on the cream and blue pumps. And now we return you to Escape.
So there it was. Harry Pope, the man who had been an enemy of anyone and everyone who didn't come from his country or speak his language, was now halfway through death's door. And his only hope lay in a Dr. Ganderby of another race, another creed, another country, and another color. Now, for the first time in his life, Harry had made a gesture of friendship toward a person of another race. First time. And it seemed to me the last.
No, my friend. The serum is worthless.
So what can we do then? The snake is bound to wake sooner or later. Harry will move. He won't be able to help himself, and the snake will strike.
We must think.
Look, I'll shoot it. I can hold the gun low and flat so that even if I hit Harry, it won't be a penetrating wound, and I'll blow the snake sheet and all. Clear the bed, huh?
But you don't even know which of the many folds and creases in that sheet is the harbor of the snake.
Yeah.
You might shoot the air.
Yeah.
You would most certainly wake the snake then.
No, we can't do that.
I think I have a solution, Mr. Wood.
Yeah?
We will anesthetize the snake. Yes. We will use nitrous oxide, or ether, or chloroform. I think the last. Chloroform, yes.
We put the snake out right while he's lying on Harry. Is that the idea?
That is it, Mr. Woods. Now, if you will please drive quickly down to my house, my boy will show you where I keep my supplies. The chloroform is in a bottle with an orange label.
Orange label?
Yes. Bring it back as quickly as you can. I will stay with Mr. Pope and try to keep him assured.
He seems to like you.
We all like the doctor when we are sick.
I drove it as fast as I could. The houseboy at the doctor's thought I was a madman at first, but then he decided in my favor, showed me where the stuff was. I found the bottle with the orange label, smelled it to make sure, and then took off back to the house. I eased the car up the driveway and tiptoed into the bedroom.
You're my friend, Doctor? My pal?
Yes, I'm your friend, and I'm not going to let any harm come to you.
Well, here's Willie. He's my friend, too, Doc.
Here's the stuff, Doctor.
Willie, I've been an awful dope all my life. You know that, Willie?
It's okay, Harry. You're going to be okay from now on.
The Doc here, my friend here, I didn't like him when he first came into the room. Why? Because he wasn't an American or even an Englishman. What do you know about that, huh? He's my friend.
It's okay, Harry. You're going to be okay now, boy.
I've been a prize dope.
Mr. Woods, you have to help me.
Right. He pulled a prescription pad out of his case, tore the cardboard backing off, and twisted it into a neat little funnel. He laid this on the edge of the bed. And then he took the piece of hollow rubber tubing which had been used as a tourniquet, and he began to slide it into the sheet. It went in where the sheet ended, across Harry's chest, and he slid it down. He slid it slowly, so slowly that although I was watching it, I didn't see it move. Hours seemed to crawl by. The tube inched invisible on and down, down and down, past the unseen buttons of his jacket, past the unseen cord of his trousers. Then it stopped. Ganderby had set it by a route which did not cross any of the creases in the sheet. He was being very careful not to prod the snake with it. He was sweating, too, now, sweating and biting his lip with his teeth. Funny, I remember now, one was gold. I remember staring at it while he inched that tube.
Now the funnel. I fit it into the end of the tube, and we are ready. Mr. Pope, this is going to be very cold. The evaporation of the chloroform will cause a sharp lowering of the temperature. You must be prepared for this. It will take rather a long time, another factor for which you must prepare yourself. The snake is a reptile, and reptiles do not react quickly to the anesthetics, which are intended for the use of warm-blooded animals. Bear these things in mind. Are you ready?
Sure. Friend.
He opened the bottle and began to drip the stuff into the funnel. Slowly, very slowly, drop by drop, the clear liquid entered the tube and traveled the long, dark route to Harry Pope's stomach, where the crate lay sleeping. Drop by drop, a pale, swirling vapor hung over the funnel. Down there on the sheet, where the tube ended, a wet gray patch began to spread. The chloroform spreading and evaporating, spreading and evaporating. The room began to reek of it. And I remembered other places and other times. Hospitals, operations, the death of loved ones, smell of chloroform. Harry began to twitch now, his nose. He seemed to be in agony.
Woody.
Harry, what is it?
I think I'm gonna sneeze.
Don't do it, boy. Hang on, Harry. You gotta hang on. Don't. Ganderby looked at Harry's face. He reached up, pressed his knuckle against some nerve on Harry's upper lip, and the agonized look vanished. The relentless dripping of the chloroform continued. Harry was getting cold. I could see goose flesh along his arms, across the top of his chest where the jacket was open. Ganderby looked at this and stopped pouring.
That is enough. I think our little friend should be thoroughly unconscious now. Mr. Pope, you must remain very still. We are going to remove the sheet now.
Anything you say, Doctor.
Mr. Woods, you take the other side. You will have to do this ever so carefully.
We each took a side of the hem. I watched Vanderbilt do everything that he did. Harry's arms were still flat on the bed, pointing toward his feet. We inched the sheet under and free of these. It was rough, because we had to do it without disturbing the main area of the sheet. When it was free of his arms, we began to raise it slowly, gathering the material in our hands as we progressed ever so slowly down Harry's chest. We reached the end of his jacket. No sign of a snake. My hands were beginning to shake. Vanderbilt paused while I turned my head away for air. The odor of chloroform was stifling. And then we went on, slowly, thread by thread, raising the sheet and easing it away, down past the cord of his pajamas, and down, and still no sign of the snake. I'd stopped looking for it by now. I was concentrating on keeping my arms from shaking. And then, quite suddenly, we were done. Vanderbilt dropped the sheet on the floor. Harry lay on his back, not moving, but watching us with wide, terrorized eyes. Vanderbilt squinted at both sides of Harry, at his legs.
What is it?
It is not as you suppose on the outside of your pajama pants. It must be up one of the legs.
Harry, no!
I don't see it.
Get those tatters of cloth, the remains of his pants.
No, nothing.
The bed. Under the bed?
Yep. Move your feet, Harry. Harry, move your feet. No, there's nothing.
Mr. Pope, are you quite certain you saw a snake? Sometimes when we are very tired, we find our auto-suggestive faculties run a bit out of hand.
Are you calling me a liar?
Well, no. I merely say that the auto-suggestive faculties...
Are you telling me I'm a liar?
Harry.
Why, you lousy little quack. Call me a liar. You stinking little Hindu witch doctor with your fancy pants, Tom.
Harry!
Come in here sticking me full of your cheap, no good medicine.
Harry, go!
Pour that freezing cold up all over
Harry,
me.
take it easy. Harry's your friend.
My friend! That little hunk of foreign trash, my friend! Why, where I come from, where you guys live, khaki like him for bus boys.
You make a mistake. You are wrong.
Yeah, for bus boys, for waiters, for nothing. You're a foreigner. You're a gook. You're a nothing. Oh, I ought to beat you to a bloody pulp. You and your chloroform. You and your stuff about friendship and Mama Snake. And I must make out like I like you. I ought to split your head wide open, you gooks. You gook, you gook, you gook.
Please, Doctor, forgive him. He's been under a great strain. He doesn't mean it.
A great strain, yes. He needs a good holiday. Good night, Mr. Woods.
That's all. I couldn't tell this if old Harry was still alive. Poor old Harry. He didn't die in India. He died in Chicago, in the Loop. Got run over by a taxi cab. The driver was third-generation Irish, a real 100% white American. Maybe that means something, I don't know. Poor old Harry.
Believe it or not, but the very life of your car depends on oil. Without oil, your motor would grind itself to pieces in a matter of minutes. That's why you need an oil that stands up under every driving condition. That's why you need Rich Lube all-weather motor oil. Rich Lube is refined 100% from the finest Pennsylvania crude oil ever discovered. That's your guarantee that Rich Lube won't burn up even under the terrific heat of hard summer driving. Its tough, long-lasting oil film is your faithful watchdog. It protects your motor every mile you drive. You can depend on it. Moreover, Rich Lube motor oil combats carbon and other harmful deposits by its special cleansing action. It cleans as it lubricates your motor. Keep your motor young. Keep your motor clean. See your Richfield gasoline dealer tomorrow. Ask him to change your oil to Rich Lube all-weather motor oil. Escape is produced and directed by William N. Robeson, and tonight is presented Poison by Roald Dahl and adapted for radio by James Poe. Featured in tonight's cast were Jack Webb as Woody, Bill Conrad as Harry, Jane Novello as Ganderby, and Charlie Long as the houseboy. Special music arranged and played by Ivan Ditmars. Next week.
You are lost in the headhunter territory of New Guinea, fighting your way through the swamps in search of gold. With you is a giant brute of a man and his beautiful wife, who doesn't care which of you is killed or who kills him, and from whose evil treachery there is no escape.
Next week at this time, the Richfield Oil Corporation of New York invites you to escape with an exciting story of evil and violence in the deadly swamps of New Guinea, as Jules Archer tells it in Two Came Back. Goodbye then until the same time next week when once again we offer you Escape. Tom Hanlon speaking over CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.